You are now listening to the Old Head, New Head podcast with your hosts, Eric Iberg and Ethan Schaefer.
Goddamn kids.
Shut up, old man!
That's all right, folks. Iberg's on his old mic today. We got a computer issue. We got an internet issue. We're going crazy on this, but I do want to give a shout out to Starlink. I'm on the Oregon coast right now. Hop on the internet. 2 bars of internet. So I ripped the Starlink out of my van, set it up, got to run outside, and now we're live. We're live.
Go on.
We're over satellite now. We're all good.
Nice.
And you got a different background today. What are those skis?
Oh, that's my first free pair of skis. My hard F17s from 1995.
Yeah.
And then for my last pair of long skis before I went to 180 twin tips.
Sickness. All right. Well, good stuff. I see you drinking your 40. I got my Rainier. Shout out the good folks at Rainier. I'm getting closer to them. I'm on the Oregon coast. Might get up to Seattle soon. Get to meet these nice people. Get a couple handles of gin. We'll see if they come through on that, like they said they would. And what you blazing up?
I'm blazing up my THC from Ross Jacob at Dark Horse Farms here in Minnesota. So big up Ross Jacob. And I also got to big up Lazy Susan, who always sets me up with shit to wrap my weed, smoke it. So I'm all stoked. Give thanks to those two guys.
Beautiful.
What's going on? So this is now, we're show 11 or 12. It's
No. We got, what show are we on? We might be at number 9 right now.
9. So either way, we're end of October, early November. What's going on? You got some merch or something?
Yeah, look in the description, everyone. We got a bunch of stuff. We got merch. We got discount codes. We got free skiing museum. There's a bunch of videos being premiered that we're not involved with, but there's going to be some sick stuff dropping this time of year right now. Also,
Big thanks for everyone that supported us with the GoFundMe. Already, it's pretty wicked because, you only know about it if you're on Instagram probably.
Uh-huh.
And so not if you're listening on the platform, but we'll leave the GoFundMe up. It's probably in the description somewhere through the season. And every dollar helps, makes it fun, makes it feel like someone's watching if they take time to give us $1. So watching, listening, whatever.
Yeah, I got to tell you, man, I just got back from Spring Pass, and I told you this on the phone. Every year at Spring Pass, I would have people coming up to me. They would hear me talking in the parking lot. They would see me on the hill. They'd be like, yo, I love 2-planker. Thanks for putting those out. It'd be maybe 3 a week. At Hood this year, it was multiple times, every single day. People coming up, being like, yo, I love the show. I've listened to every episode. I listened to it on the way here today. I listened to it on my drive cross country. So just to all those people, thank you guys for listening. And thank you for saying something. That is the coolest part. Meeting the listeners in person, seeing the variety of backgrounds, people of all ages, men, women. It's really, really dope.
And I think I told you this on the recap show or whatever, but it was fun for me too, right? I went up to Quebec and for D-Structure's 25th anniversary, and people only knew me from the podcast.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was producing ski content with all those Quebecers for the previous 25 years, but I was only relevant because of the podcast. So that was pretty fun. But none of the youth knew anything I did in life, but they did know the podcast with you.
Yeah, you're getting Mosleyed. You're just the voice of a podcast. Everything else you did don't matter.
It's true. Lucky I still am the Wizard of Oz and do shit quietly behind the scenes all day, every day. So
yeah, exactly. And before we move on to who we have today, shout out who's this kind fella that dropped $500 into the GoFundMe? Is this Hans Smith?
I have no idea. It says Brian, right?
Yes, it's Brian Smith, but it said Hans in the notification, so I don't even know who this guy is.
Must be Hans Smith then. Give thanks, Hans. Much appreciated.
Much appreciated. That broke the Tall T Dan record. I think Dan's in second place with $333. Hans is number 1. If anybody's listening to this.
Hans, number 1. 500 buckaroonies.
Yep. And who do we have on the show today?
We got Ian Cosco, aka Chug Life. I want to know what you know about Chug Life.
Well, this is what I knew about Chug. And we talked about this in the Joss episode, that my first favorite ski movie ever was Pretty Good. And in the intro, that is Chug walking around naked. And then it's a variety of different riders looking like they're interacting with his dick. So you have Joss eating a cannoli. You got bottles of champagne being sprayed right when he's standing next to it. You got all sorts of stuff. So
This is a Rage Films movie, huh?
Rage Films, yeah. Maybe we might actually. I would have to buy it on Apple. I was gonna say we could do a group viewing of it, but I think it's only available for purchase right now.
Yeah,
right on stream.
that guy Sky, man. He's got his movies locked up somewhere.
Yep. So that's what I know about Chug. He obviously had a very popular. I rewatched some of the Chug Life videos last night.
Well, how old were you when you got introduced to Chug and his penis?
I was probably, I would say like preteen, like 10 to 13 years old. I can't like identify where in that time period, but like it was around that age.
Pretty fucked up if you think about what I asked. So,
Yeah, I know, but he was always naked. There was no way to avoid it. If you wanted to
that's
consume,
my questions too. I know nothing about like from my perspective. He's so fun because to me originally I thought maybe he was like from Vernon, like where TJ and Bibby and like a bunch of these guys come from,
yeah,
because he was in that crew. And then I realized he was from like Yukon or something, and that's why he was a little different than all the Vernon kids. So I don't know anything. And then like the fact that I met him at Josh Unolson's Super Sessions
yeah,
when Team Canada won, and I was like the head judge for the film contest.
yeah.
So I'm excited to talk to him about that because that was a controversial win over Simon, and I forget who his partner was.
Yeah, he was a competitor too. Like I know him from the web series and like from being a goofball, but like he was in X Games, sponsored by Skull Candy, sponsored by a whole other bunch of other. I believe so. I mean, he has a Chug Life episode from X Games, so he was either there for fun or he was competing. We'll find out.
Fuck yeah. No, I'm stoked to hear his story because I don't know it, but I'm sure it's an entertaining one.
I'm gonna drop him the link because we're running a little late on this with all our tech issues, so we'll get him in here. He said he was on the Simon Pod, and he said it didn't go great when he was on the Simon Show. He said he didn't do his best performance, so hopefully this is a better performance.
Simon Dumont podcast?
Yeah, back.
That'd be a tough podcast to be on, man.
It was back during COVID. You weren't on that, were you?
No, but I tried to listen to them, but it was hard to listen.
Yeah, could have been better. But shout out Simon.
Better.
Yeah.
We can do better.
And also the other cool thing about Cosco is he's a bush plane pilot now, so it's like he's got a whole new career that's like just as dope as his old one. Get him in here. You see that thing that Walter Wood posted yesterday? That was dope.
Super dope. Yeah, he sent me a message and it's like, can you do shit, please? Just fucking trying to fucking teach the kids.
Yeah.
Walter Wood, super stoked. I gotta send you this thing. I don't know. How old were you in 2013?
I was 15 years old.
So there was a fun little controversy with Tanner calling out Walter Wood being a puppet of the U.S. ski team. A couple edits going back to them.
Sick. All right, we're gonna have Cosco hop in here. He's seen the link. I would bet you he hasn't used Zoom in a while, and it needs to be updated. So it'll take us a second. But in the meantime, I posted a bunch of those. The last year of everyone that started Armada before they were on Armada. I thought that was pretty interesting stuff.
What's dope too? Think about how big the fills were.
Oh my god!
In almost every ad. They're getting. Imagine this: a 2-page spread for a Smith ad is the equivalent of a 2-page spread for a payout from Dina Star.
Wow.
So that counts as because they saw the product in it.
Yeah.
Watch all that shit and how many ads they had. They were getting paid by the other companies when companies were paying to market them nonstop.
The best ad was the Phoenix ad, where it's the 3 fills because they never appeared solo. And what's the caption on it? I'm pulling it up right now. It says, they all agree the best looking one is Phil. Which is funny because
I forgot about wait, like was he here?
Oh, there we go.
What's up, boys?
Where
going on?
are you?
I'm in Whitehorse, Yukon, way up north in Canada.
Sick.
Buddy.
Ian, it's nice to meet you, dude.
Yeah, you too, man.
Iberg, have you guys ever met?
Good to see you in 15 years.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to think of the last time we saw each other, and it's probably 15 years, man.
We did 2010.
Yeah, for sure. Back in my heyday.
That is so sick. And you're in the Yukon right now.
Yeah, I've been living up here for like 10 years now.
That's so gnarly.
Yeah, it's a different world.
I'm looking up Whitehorse right now just to get a good gauge of where you're coming from. Oh yeah, you're up there. You're north of Juneau.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're technically north of the capital of Alaska.
Yeah, that's sick. Well, I'm on the Oregon coast right now. Iberg's in Minneapolis, the greater Minneapolis area. And Iberg, you want to give him a little rundown on what we do here, just so he knows what he's walking into?
Yeah, and for anyone who's listening to this show for the first time. So like 2 years ago, I was on Ethan's podcast. He does a thing called Two Planker Podcast. And so like we talked for a bunch, and then I realized I'm 45 right now and he's 26. And I was like, man, I don't get anything young people are doing in the sport. And like nothing makes sense. I don't get why they're doing it. I don't get the purpose of it. But that makes sense, right? Because I'm old. And so like I was like, hey, it'd be really fun after I did the podcast with them. I'm like, you want to do a podcast together and call it the Old Head New Head Podcast? And we talked to like a old guy that was part of the sport before, like someone who created their own lane, did their own fucking thing. And then talk to them, see why they did it, how they did it, because they didn't fit in the mold, but they're remembered people or did something successful or still doing it, whatever. And then people can hear that story. And then for me, when we talk to these young guys that are like the super champions or the most liked kids, I get asked why they do what they do, and then I get to figure it out. So it's kind of a selfish show for myself. But at the same time, I think it must be a fun listen for people because I think you guys all have fun stories. So that's why we wanted you on, because if anything, I think Chug Life played a big part in the evolution of our sport. And I think who you were as a person and as a character made a difference. So just want to hear your story because I don't know any of it.
Yeah, no, I like the concept. It's good to get the perspective from the old boys.
Exactly. Yeah, and we'll get into some good stuff. I'm stoked to talk about the pilot stuff. I'm stoked to talk about Rage films, but we always start at the beginning, so we'll work our way there. But,
and just so you know, Ethan's very first movie was your like penis segment movie. When he was 10 years old.
Pretty good. And so that got a lot of watches, but we'll talk about pretty good. We'll talk about a young Jossie in the cannoli right in front of your naked body. And we'll get into it. So let's start we got to start at the beginning to give people a sense of where you come from. So give us the rundown on childhood, brothers, sisters, where you grew up, all that stuff.
When you were born.
Yeah, when you were born too.
Yeah, so I was born 1987. So I'm turning 38 this year. Born in Edmonton, but I spent my summers up here in Whitehorse, so that's how I've always had that connection.
And that's in the Yukon as well?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's where I'm at now. 2 older brothers just beat the shit out of me growing up. One of them is significantly bigger, and he's the middle brother, so when they both got bigger than me, which was, still current to this day, they kicked the shit out of me, made me into a man, I like to think. But my oldest brother, he was really into skiing, so my parents used to drive him down to Fernie every weekend, and I kind of idolized him, so I got into it. And then he made a pretty good run at it, but decided to go to university, and I just kept going with it. And
how far away was Fernie from where you lived?
It was a 6-hour drive.
Wow.
So he grew up in Alberta, not in the Yukon.
No, he was born in the Yukon, but my parents moved to Edmonton before I was born.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he lives in Vancouver now. But yeah, my family had a cabin in Fernie, so and both my parents were really into skiing, so they got us into it at a young age. And to be honest, I hated skiing growing up. I just thought it was cold and shitty, and I'd rather drink hot chocolate in the lodge until I was about 13, and my brother started competing in these mogul events. And then they introduced Big Air, and that seemed pretty fun to me. Got into it and kind of had a knack for it. Took it from there.
What did your parents do for a living?
My dad, he was a lawyer in the Yukon for a long time, and then when he moved to Edmonton, he started a business, a tire kind of auto center business.
Okay.
So he was pretty swamped with that. He was busy all the time. Didn't really know. My mom was really the one that drove us around and got us into sports and shit like that.
How did they even end up in the Yukon in the first place? Like, were your grandparents gold prospectors or something?
No, I think they both moved up here individually, but I think it was just kind of a new adventure for either of them. It's the same nowadays. That's why people come up, and the money's pretty good up here. So people come up for like a year, or plan for a year, and then they end up staying for an entire lifetime.
So sick.
Did you do any other sports? Did you do summer sports or like what's it? Because I know you're the only person from this kind of area of the world that I know. So like,
Yeah.
what is it like where you grow up? Do you always hunt bears? Like, is there diamonds on the fucking ice roads? What go on?
It's all gold up here, but yeah, I do hunt bears. I got a grizzly bear rug on my floor at home, as well as a polar bear rug, but I didn't shoot that one. But as far as sports, I played soccer pretty competitively growing up, and you'd think I would have played hockey, but my parents decided I was too small. My bigger brother, he played, and he took it to kind of the rep level, and when they started hitting, he was getting obliterated, and he's a lot bigger than me, so my parents decided that wasn't the sport for me. And I played a bit of lacrosse, but it was mostly soccer and skiing and hunting, I guess, fishing.
What's the biggest difference since you've traveled around and met a bunch of younger kids? What do you think like the biggest difference is growing up where you grew up compared to all the other kids that you ever met in skiing?
I mean, I linked up with the boys from Vernon, like TJ Schiller, Bibby, Joe Schuster, Justin Dory. I linked up with them pretty young, and the advantage they had is they lived right at the mountain.
Okay.
So for me, it was just
lifestyle was the same. It wasn't like
it was pretty, yeah.
Okay. So nothing. It's not. I'm making up in my head. Like maybe you're behind in lifestyle. Maybe your buildings are older. Maybe your towns are dirty roads. Like, is it all just normal? Like, is it not a modern town that you grew up in?
Yeah, I grew up just outside of Edmonton, so we were like 20, 25 minutes from Edmonton. So it was a pretty modern town, yeah. And Edmonton's a great city, but I have no desire to move back there.
So you really got into skiing by driving 6 hours each way on weekends?
Yeah, pretty much. We had local hills, but they're, rope toes. And when Big Air became a thing, we just do rope toe laps on the jump, which is great for learning tricks and whatnot, but it wasn't really skiing. So we go to Fernie and actually get some turns in.
Fernie's not Vernon, though, is it? Like, what was the name of their hill that all those kids, TJ and Bibby and them, grew up at?
They were at Silver Star.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Fernie, your brother gets into moguls originally?
Yeah, well, he started racing at first and then got into moguls because they were hitting jumps. And then, like, Bushy, he grew up in Calgary, so he was competing against him. They're about the same age. And actually, the real reason I wanted to get into jumping and doing tricks is I was riding the ski lift at one of my brother's competitions, and Bushy came under. I didn't know it was him at the time, and just laid out the sickest backy on this natural hit. And I was like, that looks fun. I want to do that.
Sick.
Yeah.
That's
So you get into it. You have a brother that's there, but now it's like about big air because it's early 2000s, right?
This would have been 90s, right?
Yeah, it would have been like late 90s, early 2000s. I was about 13 when I got into it.
So how do you get into it?
I joined what do they call it? The Northern Alberta Freestyle Ski Club, which is actually based in Edmonton, but joined them and traveled around, and they had a lot of competitions like provincials, and then eventually went to junior nationals and competed against the Vernon boys for the first time, and I beat Riley Lebo in big air, and that was the first time he'd ever lost, and he fully cried. And I literally talked about that to him like 2 weeks ago because it just crushed him.
So when you got into it, it was straight like the contest scene was what drew you to it? Like because you had a vibrant contest scene and a lot of kids doing it? Like
Yeah, exactly. It was a great program, and it just every weekend there was something going on. And I like the competition aspect of it. What's that, sir?
Did you watch movies at that time? Any ski movies at that time?
Oh yeah, my brother was like, we had Degenerates Uncovered. That's how I learned how to do a 3-mute. And, 13, like all the original Poor Boys movies. We had them all on VHS and watched them on repeat.
So you were like an 11-year-old just fucking in love watching with this shit even before you started competing.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you guys put the new heads onto what Degenerates Uncovered was? Because I never knew about that until I was reading through the old Freeze magazines.
And I forgot about it for a while until you said it. I even left it off my fucking list of Johnny movies. God damn.
Yeah, Degenerates Uncovered was like, because Degenerates had come out and everybody was like, what is this shit? And it was basically Shane Zox running through the tricks that they were doing, and awesome guy as well, and his instructions were on point. Got me into the grabbing my skis for the first time. It was a sick video, man.
Yeah, Iber, give us some context for Degenerates. Like, what role
But
that...
Degenerates came out in 1998 from Poor Boys Productions by Giant de Cesare. And so exactly what Cosco is saying, like, man, it's all new shit you've never seen. Mm-hmm. So, like, it's actually a smart idea by Johnny at Poor Boys to be like, or whoever his idea was, to, like, put out this idea of, like, how to grab your skis, how to, like, rotate. Because it was an instructional video. So you could get all hyped, and then I don't know. But that's awesome, man. I'll be so stoked to tell Johnny to watch this one. Because I don't know, I've never heard anyone be like, yeah, watch Degenerates Uncovered and fucking learn to 360 mute. It's awesome.
Yeah, dude. That was sick. It was so fun when it was just brand new and nobody knew what was going on.
And then everyone's your friend, right? Because if you go to that first event or something and you meet those Vernon boys and you're a kid and they're doing tricks and you're doing tricks, you're kind of instant friends, I think. At least we were at all levels down in America at that point still. Yeah,
exactly. Like TJ and Bibby were a couple of years older than us, but they were legends already. And so like Riley, Joe, Justin, Marshall Talbot, those were the guys that I hung out with the most, and we just kind of fed off each other. And then there's also the guys from Alberta that they were part of like our crew, and we all joined, like Mike Hennatuck and Mike Riddle. Those were the boys.
There's so many guys, man, at that era from that little location.
Yeah.
Like, really look at the late 2000s, like how all those guys are superstars.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone. And that's your little kid circle.
Yeah.
Pretty fucking awesome. So my question now is, you beat Riley. You're fucking the man. He's crying. But going into like, so what do you do as a kid in the early 2000s? Are you thinking about like, because there's no national team, right? So is your dream only like to go to an X Games, go to the US Open? What is a goal as a kid other than because you just beat Riley? I mean, that's a pretty big goal. What's the next goal?
Yeah, the goal, the U.S. Open was huge back then, and especially when TJ and Bibby went down for the first time and TJ won, that was kind of game changing. So I convinced my mom to bring me down there, and I competed. Well, actually, the first year I went, I didn't get to compete because I had no idea how to judge speed in between jumps. And in practice, I just tried to hit the money booter, as they called it.
Oh, when TJ won, he was what? He was 17, 18?
Yeah.
So you're how old? You're 14 or 15 at this point?
I was 15, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think how dope that would be to have another kid come back from America and be like, I'm a champion.
Yeah, that would have been cool, except that I hit this jump switch and went way to the bottom and blew myself up. I can't even remember.
You went to that same event that he won?
Yeah, I was there that year.
Okay, so this is a story you're saying from that event.
Yeah. So and
okay,
I didn't
start over. I'm sorry. I thought you were the next year down. So you were going, and this is during training?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just actually maybe you're right. Maybe it was the next year. I can't remember right now, but I think it was the year Tej won. And I was there, and yeah, I just blew myself up, and then watched. And I didn't know TJ at the time. Like I'd met him, but he was still like way up here in my eyes, and I was just a little shithead kid that didn't know how to check speed in between jumps.
That's still so how bad were you hurt?
I honestly can't remember, but it was like broken ribs, blew up my shoulder. I can't remember if it broke my collarbone and separated it, and conkied myself pretty good. And my mom was devastated because she had never seen me eat shit like that before. And then, so I sat that one out, and then I went back the next year, and I got to get these years straight, but I made semis. And yeah, it was the next year that TJ like noticed me because I was 450ing onto the flat to down, and TJ was just like mind blown because he could only 270 it. I was like, he noticed me, and we've been like best buds ever since then. But
like the three best buds?
Yeah, the three best friends anyone can have.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
I got a question, just because this is like such a big part of Chug Life. When did the partying start for you? Like, because you live in the middle of nowhere, and so that usually means that drinking starts young. So was that the case for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Like in high school, we were all about the bush parties, and the Vernon boys were the same. But I moved to Utah when I was 17. And I lived there for a few years, and that was when I made the decision, like, I'm not going to go to university. I'm going to try and make a push.
How are you going to move to a foreign country when you're 17? Did you graduate early? Did your parents say, fuck it, go for your dreams?
Not really, actually. I barely passed high school, man. I was traveling so much, trying to do all these competitions and I didn't give a shit about it. I was just a cocky little shithead, like I said, thinking, oh, I'm just going to be a pro skier. I don't need school. And my parents made sure I passed high school. I did the second half of grade 12 by correspondence, and finished with a 51% average. Pretty solid.
Why Utah?
That was kind of the mecca back then. That's where like Jossie Wells just moved there, and it was the place to be. And that would have been in like 05, and it kind of shifted to Colorado while I was there. But I spent like 2.5 years in Utah. Not even. about 2 years in Utah, and that's where I picked up my sponsors. And my first sponsor actually was Ninth Word.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. When I was 16, that was my first.
I did not know that you were a Ninth Ward guy. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, dude.
How did Campbell find you?
I found him. I was a little self-promoting marketing demon, man. I emailed everybody on the planet to get sponsors, and then he was the first one to support me. And
What do you write as someone that's coming in? And correct me if I'm wrong. But do you have the results to be like, you're missing out, sponsors? Give me free products, or are you hyping them on your future accomplishments, or how do you sell yourself at this time period in the sport as a kid?
New Schoolers was kind of popping off back then, so I created like a bit of a following on there. I was active as hell, and I got a list of team managers from somebody, and I was just firing off like full-blown job applications, like a resume with all my results from, Alberta champs, first place, which I probably won with a 360 mute grab or something. But I had a list of results that nobody probably knew about, but it wasn't really advocating for my future adventures. But
so now you're in Utah, you're trying to get sponsors, you get some, but now you're not doing the Alberta contest circuit. What's available for you in the States in 2000? I think the American Free Ski Tour happened in 2005.
Yeah, there were some smaller events. Like I remember I did like every rail jam I could, because that was more my niche than the big air stuff. And just the smaller events around Utah, I couldn't tell you the names of them now, and traveling to Colorado and doing like the just the minor AM events and kind of spreading my name a bit that way. But where I was originally going with that is I quit drinking when I was down there because it was Utah and beer's 3.5%,
And you're underage.
And I was living with a bunch of broke wannabe skiers as well, so we didn't have the money or the time or the energy to put into partying. But I moved to...
Who were you living with when you moved down there?
I was living with Whit Foster and LJ Strenio.
That's a sick house right there.
How do you meet these?
It was, and I actually enrolled in college when I wasn't really making enough money, and that's how I got my private pilot's license, was in Utah.
I think Iberg's mic cut out when he was asking. So how'd you meet LJ and Whit?
New Schoolers, man. It was like a hard online future of dating app.
It really was. Everyone always said, I need you. Who wants to move here?
Yeah, exactly. New Schoolers was my savior, dude. I went to Albany for the Vermont Open once, and I just kind of got picked up by Anon. I can't remember the guy's name that ran it, but he was supposed to pick me up at the airport and bring me to Stratton or wherever it was. And he dropped the ball. So I was stuck in the Albany airport, and I was too young to rent a car. And I put out a thing on New Schoolers saying, somebody pick me up and drive me to the Stratton Open. And now I can't remember the guy's name that picked me up, but just some random dude came and picked me up and dropped me at the event. And I'm pretty sure I bombed, but New Schoolers was unreal back then. I don't even know what it's like now. I haven't been on that site in years.
It's not like that. Like, it was so yeah. Back then, like, everything was, once again, if you met someone with twin tips on snow, they were your friend. And then on New Schoolers, that extended it to a whole new global level of like, you like twin tips? Me too. And then you're like, you're cool, I'm cool. You're like, all right, I'm straight edge. You're like, I'm an alcoholic. And you're like, let's be friends.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm looking right now. There are 26 members online currently at 10 a.m. Pacific time on a Friday. So it's pretty slow on New Schoolers.
And it used to be in the thousands, right? Like I did a radio show in 2005 with Bishop, NS Radio, and it was live. And we had 10,000 people listening.
That's wild, man.
Like 2000, and that was every single person almost in their community because everyone was so excited to hear me and Bishop wasted together.
That's crazy.
I think I remember that.
And then Bishop at the end, he goes, fuck, I didn't hit the record button. I didn't hit the record button. Like it was live. We're cool.
I feel like we should go and look for some of that stuff. All right, so you move to Utah, you get sober, you have a couple sponsors. When was your first paying sponsor?
Ninth Word, actually, they gave me I think it was $3,000 US when I was 16.
Wait, they gave you money. Like you got physical cash from Ninth Ward.
Yeah.
Here, take a second, man. You're the first person. Phil Bellinger, Rory Silva, Henrik Harlow. Fucking the list goes on. Never got a penny. You, sir.
No way.
The coolest person ever in the game of skiing.
That's
Mikhail Dishno, never a penny.
That's crazy.
No way. I got a paycheck, man. That was my first paycheck ever.
That's crazy. Did Ninth Ward have the youngest team in skiing? Because everybody we talk to, it's always like, yeah, when I was like 15, 16, 17 years old, I got picked up. Like
Josh Peters, Max Peters was your circle of fucking just dirty groms.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was part of why I was dating Ashley Battersby at the time too, and I moved to Utah, and she was best friends with Max Peters, and he was a Ninth Ward boy
Ashley
too.
on New Schoolers?
Yeah, now that I think about it, dude, that's hilarious. I got a girlfriend.
They could even get girlfriends that were pro skiers on New Schoolers.
Unreal. So, all right. So you're living the life when you moved to Utah.
Yeah, and I just skied every day, and I learned so much. Like Park City was so sick back then; it was one of the best parks around, and that's when it was a great move. And Ashley had all these connections, so I got picked up by Scott Goggles and Poles, and Eric's was this new company out of Tahoe that was my clothing sponsor, and yeah, I just traveled around, did all these amateur competitions, and eventually Ashley and I split up, and I moved to Vernon and met up with all my old boys again, and that's when the partying really started, I'd say.
So did you at all have any film crews when did you film with anyone in Park City years?
I filmed with like independent guys, and I would just put out online kind of segments, but I was trying to get in with Rage and Level 1. I started with Rage when I was in Utah. I think that's where I did. I can't remember what movies they were, but
How do you meet someone? Because Rage is pretty big. I know Sky, the guy who runs it, like he's a great fucking fine talent, and if you're ready to work with you.
yeah.
But how does that come about? How do you meet someone from a big film company when you're?
I think originally it was through Ninth Word. I think Ninth Word said they were going to sponsor Rage, and then when I jumped ship to Atomic put some money in as well. It was all about the sponsors, like not necessarily my skill level. It's just getting the
So you left Ninth Ward, $3,000. How much does Atomic give you, and why are they up in the ante?
Well, Rex Thomas was the the team manager at the time, and I kind of knew him from the Canadian ski scene. He hooked me up. I can't remember how much he paid me, but it wasn't much. It's like maybe 10 grand.
And then it was boots and bindings too, right?
Yeah, which was sick. And that's when they were making the atomic triplets. So you got 3 skis every time you order it. So you just order it.
Do you think Rex fucking created the name triplets?
What's that?
I think Rex said we should call a ski the triplet.
Yeah, and then he put chicks all over him. Classic Rex.
Do you think it was his concept?
Yeah, for sure. And he was like, "Oh yeah, break one, you got a spare." It's like, kind of. It was great to be an athlete because you got a bunch of skis at a time. But
wait, so this concept was three? It was 3 skis. It came with the bundle. What is this?
Yeah,
a ski they called the triplets because the team manager Rex loved chicks. His parents owned a strip club, and so he wanted to have triplets as a fantasy.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. There was more advertising of one of these skis is going to break, so we'll give you a backup.
Yeah. That's fine.
That would be dope if that's how it worked.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so dope. So what do you think your last year was? Were you there the first year Wallish was in Park City?
Yeah, I was there when Wallish was there, and he was like hot shit on the block, the pretzel man, and it was funny when he first showed up because he could not jump worse shit. And I hope he listens to this and hears that.
And to put it in perspective for Ethan, this is the season he filmed his unknown segment. So you're listening from Ian's perspective of watching Wallish in the year he became God.
Yeah, exactly. And he was so fucking cocky back then, and he'll admit that, I'm sure. But
and he was only a few years younger than you, right?
No, but we're the same age.
Okay, but were you starstruck when you saw him, or were you like, oh, here's one of my peers acting like a prick showing up in Utah like he owns the place?
Yeah, we were like amicable, but we weren't exactly buddies in the beginning because we were both kind of trying to go for the same shit. And
yeah.
I had just learned how to jump, so I was like, oh, he's not shit. And then all of a sudden he turns into fucking Tom Wallish, the absolute legend. And it didn't take him long to figure out how to jump well.
No.
Were you involved with the clown school guys at all? Because I know you were living with LJ. So were you rolling with the E Heath guys, filming with them?
Yeah. A little bit. I didn't really film with them. They kind of had their own thing. But, yeah, I knew all those guys, and they're super fun to be around.
You're an OG E Heath knower, and we talk new schoolers. What was E Heath like back in the day? Because to me, he's like a new schoolers, right? He's still there. He might be one of those guys
still there.
Right now.
Yeah. One of the 26 online right now. I never had anything bad to say about him. He was a good kid.
But what was he when he was out there, I guess, is my question. Did he move out to be a filmer and create movies with his friends?
From my understanding, yeah.
Both moved out there because of new schoolers, right? Where's the spot to go? Let's move here. So I'm curious. He's a transplant as well, and you're around him. What was his function? Was he a cameraman all the time? Was he making movies or?
Yeah, from my recollection, I only ever saw him with a camera in his hand, skiing around the other guys.
I only know him from posts.
Maybe we need to talk to him, Eric. But, Chug, just because I'm such a big LJ fan, what was it like living with him? Did he have any weird living habits?
That guy could crush ramen noodles like nobody. It was mental, dude. He had the stacks of them in his room, and he lived in the utility room. He was hilarious, dude. I mean, he still is. But even the name LJ, I don't know if people know this, but it comes from us calling him Lil Jon because Lil Jon was so big back then. And I was like, dude, your name, when he just became LJ, I was like, your name is not LJ. It's John.
That's so fun. I never knew it.
Yeah, I don't know why it stuck, but it's just
Lil Jon, man.
He would be labeled as that, like on his nameplate in some segments. It would say Little John Strenio.
yeah, exactly.
Like especially the early videos. Yeah.
And there's no reason to call him Little John. He's not like a little guy at all.
That's the joke.
That's awesome.
So funny.
Damn. So how long were you in Utah for before you ran off to Fernie or Vernon?
I think it was like 2 years, 2 and a bit. Yeah. Thought maybe even longer, maybe closer to 3 years. And then I moved to Vernon, kind of crashed on TJ's couch for a bit, and then eventually moved to Whistler and stayed there for 6 or 7 years, basically the rest of my ski career.
What was your biggest success while you were in Utah? Like an event, a shot, a trick, like.
I got second at the Vermont Open.
In what?
In slope. And to be fair, Whit Foster, one of my roommates, was one of the judges.
That'll help.
Yeah, that may have helped me a bit. I think people are pissed about that still. But that was probably my biggest podium out there.
What was the paycheck for that?
Oh shit, I can't remember. It was probably like $1,500 or something.
Oh, okay, so it's pretty small bucks, yeah.
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 But I remember that event well because there was this like gap to down box, and I was doing 450 back 2 on it, and I was trying to step it up, and I tried to do a 630, and Dave Crichton was a judge too, also absolute legend, like idolized him growing up. And I was talking to him in between runs, and he's like, "You think you can spin more on that thing?" And I was like, "Oh no, Dave Crichton thinks I'm a failure. I already tried to 630 it, and I can't do it." And then in finals, I did a 450 to back swap on it, and I was like, "Yes, I spun more on that box. Dave Crichton's going to be proud of me."
Was he?
He was. I mean, he was a judge, and they gave me second. I think Sean Decker won, actually.
This was the year, like the gap box. It's like this big gray feature, right? It's kind of oversized. Like even Rain. I just remember shots of Rainville on this feature dominating.
Yeah, I think Rainville. Maybe he got third or something. I can't remember, but yeah, I think that's the same year.
Yeah, that was a dope looking event. So you do that. So now you move back to your country because of a failed relationship. Correct me if I'm wrong. And there's no other reason to stay in America.
That's about right, yeah.
Okay, so now you're back in your motherland. You're like, "Yo, bro, you're the man. Can I sleep on your couch?" And then your bro hooks your couch up. So what are you doing is it winter time when you go to TJ's couch?
No, this is in the summer. Well, I went to Whistler for the Glacier, like to ski momentum. I got a job coaching.
And was it dope for you then, coaching? Did they pay? Was that the best job you could have as a skier at that time?
Yeah, it was good money, and it was accommodations, food, everything. Like you got to do all the paintballing and the fun events with the kids. That was an unreal.
How much did you make? Because I remember momentum, like at this time, TJ broke the world record of what someone got paid. I remember in like 2006 or something. From Momentum, but like, what does the average person get paid at Momentum back then?
I can't remember what I started out there, but I think it was like $150 a day, which back then pretty good considering you were just skiing around with a bunch of kids all the time. And then the more years you worked there, the better the pay got. Burke was making absolute bank back then. I remember
her and TJ ran the world. I think.
Yeah, exactly.
I looked it up. So you were in pretty good in 2009. Was that before or after you left Utah?
Pretty Good was after.
Okay, so this is when you were deeper into Rage as a Canadian rather than when you were living in Utah.
Yeah. So when I moved back to Canada, like Joe and I, we both started filming with Rage, and he and I just traveled the country, well, both Canada and the US, with our sleds filming for Rage for Pretty Good. But I think it was Such Is Life was my bigger segment with Rage. I think that was my opener.
Okay, so now we could put all the pieces together, Iberg. So in 2009, I was 11 years old. And I've told this story many times on this show, but my parents were divorced, and I think this was when we moved into my mom's second place, so for one of the first times in my life, or at her house at least, I had my own bedroom. So I was in a new house, didn't want to sleep with the lights off, so I would always put on my TV with the DVD in it. And for like a year straight, I had a couple DVDs in the mix. Anchorman was one of them, but Pretty Good was another one of them. And then Wintervention, that's where I heard Mosley's voice. So like every night I would watch Pretty Good, and which means that every single night I was watching the opening segment where he's walking around naked. So now
I understand at 11 years old, that's a core memory for life.
Yeah, that's burned into your brain.
Yeah. So give us the backstory on that, because now I get to find out how that came to be.
Dude, honestly, I have a thing with, I had a thing, I think I've grown out of it a bit, not entirely, but of being naked, and I just thought it was funny and made people uncomfortable and awkward. And I think that morning one morning I was super hungover and just strutting around naked, and then Dan Norcunas at Rage was like, we should do an intro just like the Austin Powers where he's naked. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Never seen it now.
Oh,
Never seen the Austin Powers where they like always cover up the private parts for a whole scene and change out the covers?
No, but this makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, dude, it's one of the biggest scenes ever.
Yeah, that was the inspiration. And then what the great part about that too is during that shoot, Eric Seo was taking photos, and I found this shotgun and I was walking around with it, and he's like, I got to take a picture of this. And that was the first photo I ever had published in North America, and it was a full page of me standing buck naked with a shotgun.
And to be honest, that's the only picture I have in my head when I think of you.
What was it? What was it even advertising, or was it just a standalone photo with no product?
It was in free skier, like standalone, no product. I think I had a Nike hat on, and the photo.
I think it was for the Rage movie. It was like a story about the movie, and then Eric did a story on like all the different that probably had people jumping on one page with a story, and
then just naked on the other.
Yeah, that was me, man.
That's great.
Even when I got picked up by Monster, there was we're at this Monster event in Vancouver, and our Canadian team manager was introducing me to people, and he introduced me as one of Monster's personalities, and I was like, dude, I'm an athlete, man. Like, he's like, what? He's like, I thought you were just a personality. I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, I worked pretty hard.
Like, hey, dude, we don't pay you for your skiing.
Yeah.
Naked, just hold the Monster cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
What was was Rage like everyone else? Like your sponsors were paying for you to be in the movie, or were you getting paid to be in? Like, how did the payments work for Rage?
Yeah, my sponsors like paid Rage a retainer, and then I just got my regular retainer and travel budget, and then I get some video incentive.
Sick. I think movies. I'm probably just speaking from a nostalgia point of view, but I loved movies from that era because everything was a private park shoot, the most creative features, got the wood block letters next to a gigantic jump. Was this the Rage movie where Joss was telling me about this at Ghibli, where somebody like came up short on a channel gap and almost died?
No, that was Derek Sprong, and that was or Spong, yeah. That was I think the year before at Shasta.
Uh-huh.
And that was Pete Alport came up with this crazy like hard line gap, and I wasn't there for that one, but yeah, that was bad. Like his heart stopped.
I think his heart like exploded or something. Like one of the chambers just burst. It was
right. Yeah.
Iberg, do you know more about this?
It just sucks because all I remember is Derek was super young. So the year TJ won U.S. Open and was like 17, Derek got third. Like Derek was
Really?
14. Yeah, he was 14-year-old kid, looked like a little baby. Like he was dominating. So the year he got hurt with rage, like so you have this little kid, has no circle of friends, who just dominated, probably had the best day of his life, is now in a situation with people like Pete.
Yeah.
Pete is a pusher.
I was just gonna say Pete is a pusher.
And if you don't know your limit, you have to be able to say no with this filmer. It's not a bad thing. He's going to set up the craziest looking, most visual, awesome still photo and visual shot you'll ever have.
Yeah.
He's doing his success. But as a young person that just Kodak courage says, I'll do whatever you tell me to because no way. Like, it was just a bad, like, I don't know. Because I always saw rage shit. And I knew it was Pete was mostly the guy, Pete Alport. And, like, it was gnarly shit, man. And that's what made their movies great was because there was consequences in that cube step up or whatever the fuck they made.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah,
it's scary.
The landing was literally like it was just a wall with the land, like the sweet spot would have been 3 feet past a fucking 30-foot wall. It was. I don't even know if I would have hit that. I don't know if anybody did in the end. Well, I think somebody did, but.
It's like Mike Wilson when he did that MSP gap. That was like, think about him being like, woohoo, I'll do it. I can do it. I'm made out of rubber. You're like, dude, if you come up to the wall, that's 160 feet into a wall.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that one well. That was so gnarly.
So now my question is this, because you move back and now you do the summer stuff and you go and you say you're going out with Joe Schuster on snowmobiles. But at this time, you've seen the circle now break off and become super championships and slope style and big air. But you're sledding and filming. So do you have any more desire when you're on a sled and filming to be a contest kid anymore?
I didn't really I fell in love with sledding alone. Like that shit is unreal. And back then, the sleds were such dog shit compared to today. But filming was always where I had the most fun. But Joe and I would both always try the Dew Tour qualifier in Breck in December because there wasn't really much to film then anyway. And the one year I qualified and I made semis, and then I got invited to the whole tour. And then my sponsors were excited and wanted to support me more for competing. So I got back into competition and eventually got invited to X Games, which is always a goal of mine anyway. So I was pretty excited about that. But I kind of got fucked on my one X Games attempt.
And you went for slope style?
Yeah, I went for slope, and in qualifying, I did my bottom two jumps were right dub 12. I spin right, but right dub 12 to switch left dub 10. And I got like a 76. Like I had a pretty solid run. And I missed the finals. And then afterwards at a party, Mike Atkinson, who was the head judge, he came up to me and he's like, "Man, I'm really sorry. We didn't realize you spun both ways." And I was like, "No." I was like, "Really, dude?" I was the only person.
You should have enough told.
Yeah, and I was like, that could have changed my entire career if I made X finals. Because then I didn't get invited back the next year. And
was that 2010?
I got invited in 2010, but I was first alternate, so I didn't actually get to compete. And then 2011 was that year.
Okay.
That's so brutal. He should have just honestly kept that to himself. That's a heartbreaker. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I've known Mike for a long time too, and he felt so bad.
Yeah. That's brutal. But that answers our question from the intro, Iwerg. So you weren't just at X Games partying, because I was watching some Chug Life videos before this and some Skull Candy party. And I was like, I don't know if he was competing or if he was just at X Games drinking. But he was there.
I was at most X Games drinking for sure, but I actually got invited to compete twice and only got to compete once.
Nice. So
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say. So you're filming with Rage Films. You're competing in the X Games. When does Chug Life come to be? Because this was like the first. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is like the first ski web series where it was like like you were one of the OG vloggers, and vlogging has obviously become a gigantic thing since then. So I really want to know all about this.
Well, it started pretty early. Like Dan Nortunez at Rage always thought like my life was such a shit show that I started documenting it. And and Yoon had his blog. He was the first one for sure, but his blog was like, "Oh, I'm just getting in my Lambo."
Wait, so he was already vlogging back then?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I didn't realize he was that early to it. Okay. Yeah.
And he was portraying this like crazy lifestyle. And I think he was living in Monaco already. And
What year does Chug Life come out? My head's kind of hurting for this time period. Is it after your X Games?
No, it was before. It was, I want to say, the first one was my 21st birthday. So it would have been like, 2008.
I'm looking right now. It was published January 2009.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. Okay, sick.
But yeah, Yoon was portraying this like wild lifestyle, and I was like, that's not how us pro skiers live. Not that I was like barely a pro skier, making enough money to get by. But Joe and I were sleeping on a broken futon at Matt Walker's house for Dew Tour. And I was like, yeah, this is how we live. I want people to see what actually happens when you're a professional skier. And then I never expected it to take off like it did. It was just kind of for the boys. Like,
so where does the name Chug Life come from? Chugging beers?
yeah, I mean the boring story of my nickname of Chug is I looked like a guy that they called Chug, and then they called me Mini Chug when I was like 12, and then it kind of evolved into I drink pretty fast, and it just stuck.
A nickname based on a nickname for another guy.
Yeah, that's the boring story that people don't really know. But
I think it's dope. It's not boring.
Have you ever met that guy? Have you ever met the real Chug?
I don't even know if I did. Like, if I did, I don't remember him at all. And no idea what he's doing, or that he knows, or if he knows that name stuck with me.
So Chug Life, when is the first episode, and do you even call it an episode when you release a Chug Life edit, or what is the concept? Are you concepting you're going to do a vlog or a series, or are you just putting out one thing and seeing if it hits?
I was planning on doing like a series. I called them episodes because like the term vlog hadn't come out yet. And so Chug Life episode 1, I think you just said, came out January 2009, and I think I got invited to the King of Style Big Air in Stockholm, and that was like a pretty big deal for me. So that documents that, and then I always thought that I needed more skiing and more skiing and more skiing, and the more it progressed, the more I realized that people didn't give a shit about our skiing. It was just they wanted to see what happened behind the scenes, which was a weird concept. And it was hard to maintain being Chug throughout my ski career, as well as trying to keep my skiing relevant.
Because I always bugged out. So like when I'd watch you from the outside, and like I would see, I'd be like, all right, man, this guy's insane. But then I was like, maybe he's just a fucking straight edger that plays the insane person. And then like, because you got to see characters come into your show, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll use Olenek as a character that came into one of your last episodes, I think. You could visually see the person that was not in control and the person who was in control for the first time in all your episodes. And so that's what got my head always thinking about it. I was like, and now in retrospect, now that we're talking about it 15 years later, like, were you always this loose, or did you have to, after you realized people liked the fucking content that's the loosest, did you create it? Did you curate your content, or did you just be like, or was that a true lifestyle that you were living?
No, that was the thing. It was 100% real. Towards the end, I was trying to like create different things that were less chaotic but funny and relevant with the right people. But that was the whole concept, was just like my life was kind of controlled chaos, I'd call it, and I just wanted to document it. And it definitely got out of control and too loose, but it was always.
What's fun is, when did you realize that Chug Life was bigger than Ian Cosco?
That happened pretty early on.
Really? Like, I mean, like, so you're going to the X Games, and that's what I think's fun, talking about it now and listening to dates. So if you're coming out in 2009, and all of a sudden you're hitting with more popularity off of Chug Life than you are off not qualifying for finals.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? Like, if everyone's talking about you over and over, no, everyone's already on to the next contest in a competitive world. All those big guys were at the US Open 2 weeks later, and then like another big event, and then whatever. So that's why I find it interesting. So like, and there's that. How was it looking back now? Like, you give up on trying to learn a triple?
Yo, fuck yeah, dude. There's no way I was ever going to do a triple. I mean, that was the thing with my ski career. Like, I always had some talent, but I knew I was never going to be the best. And I never expected Chug Life to take off, but when it did, and my sponsors started to recognize it and pay me more, I was like, oh, this is how I maintain my professional skiing career. But the balance was impossible. Like, it was not a sustainable plan.
And so, do sponsors support the wildness, or did then they ever question some of the wildness?
It depended on the sponsor. Like, I got on with Dragon, which was awesome. They were super supportive. Monster was super supportive, but they wanted to promote it more. But some of the content, like I remember sending, I can't remember which episode it is, but the episode where Pete does the dick stir, where he stirs a rum and coke with his dick, which is obviously blurred out. But I sent it to Davey Smith, the Monster team manager, and he's like, dude, I can't fucking post that. Monster can't be all over that. And he's like, just don't even put the logo like specifically in the video. Just wear Monster hats every time you're in it, and we'll pay you. And I was like, that works for me too. But Atomic,
that's almost better. That's more organic.
Yeah. I just wore Monster shit all the time. That was the best sponsor ever, by the way. Like, all I had to do was wear a hat.
No results, just wear a hat.
Yeah.
He's still making content, right?
Yeah.
They're supporting whatever he feels is his vibe or vision. So that's why he doesn't wear the hat. So that's why they're so dope. Davey Schmidt was pretty fucking awesome.
Oh yeah, dude, he was the man. He was the best team manager ever. But some sponsors like Atomic were changing team managers pretty often, and the further we went down the road, the less the team managers liked Chug Life, and I eventually got dropped. But
Because
it was
of Chug Life or your skiing performance?
it was a combination of both. I definitely started to teeter off. That was where I'm going with the balance thing too. Is like my skiing took a toll, and I was trying to make and create content with my lifestyle. And as I got older, that got harder and harder.
Yeah. I mean, because but at a certain point, what does your ski career even turn into? Because Chug Life is becoming a monster of its own, and you're not really competing. Were you still, like, while you were doing the vlog series, were you still filming with movie companies?
Yeah, I was filming with Rage, and
Through the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay, sick. So you're still an active film skier, even with your own web series.
Yeah, it was a lot harder to balance, but that's where a lot of the Chug Life content came from for especially like in the middle of all those episodes was just Joe and I fucking around.
Yeah.
Doing shit.
So my question is, if you're around Joe every day, Joe is ill as fuck, right? Like, I mean, to put his like relativity, like he even got a X Games medal in the last 4 or 5 years, I think, in the real snow. But so you're with him, Riley Lebo, TJ Bibby, the Rage crew. Like, do you really put yourself on a podium as the worst out of all these people? Like, if you say you're falling off,
Sure, man.
I don't know. I'm wondering in your head. Like, it's a fun question now to ask later on, right? Because I wouldn't, if I looked at it, maybe they don't look at you like that in the circle, because all homies know everyone brings their own flavor to the session.
Yeah.
And so you're never the bad, like you're never bad, because you always can do something they can't do. You know, you can do something TJ can't do. You can do something Riley can't do.
Yeah.
Now they might be able to do something crazier that you can't do, but I don't know. That's why I'm just interested how you put that perspective when all of a sudden you have clout, as much clout as a guy who won X Games.
Yeah. But it was hard for some people to handle that, like I was getting all this, not all this, but getting some fame, and they were better skiers than me. Like Matt Margetts was always way more talented than me. And I'm sure it drove him nuts that I was like, kind of making a career out of it and not even that good at skiing.
Because to be honest, like you did it before, like there was the Instagram or Facebook, right? So you had this crazy organic, even you did it without YouTube, right?
Yeah.
You did it with a new schooler's video player. And then like you made your whole character out of like 100% people that consume our sport with passion.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, hell yeah, that's our guy.
Yeah.
Like it's just, I don't know, like it's pretty wicked because that's what we all grew up on was new schoolers.
Mm-hmm.
And I still like adamantly believe like a platform that hosts our whole culture is better than something that's on mainstream television. And so you were the product of that, 100% organic, where they're like, man, you're the fun guy on the website. Woo!
Yeah.
No, it is true though. Like it's like the very earliest rendition of being what people today call a social media skier, where you don't have comp results. You're just you just have clips and personality, and you're probably not even. And most of the time, you're not even the best skier, but you're still like there's tons of people like that today that just they have a fraction of the talent but triple the following, just because they're fun to watch.
Today it's a totally different thing. Like Instagram came out when I shut down Chug Life. I think I had like Facebook and a Facebook page that had followers, but that was it. Now I can't even imagine. It's a totally different world.
I got some viewer questions while we're talking about Chug Life.
There you go.
I got 3 people asking the same question. My buddy Barkley, my buddy Sam Shield, and then a different, I want to get this guy's name, Samuel Winship. How heavy was the pan?
Dude, the story of the pan is so dumb. But we're all TJ Justin, Mike Clark, Darren Rayner. We're all just hanging out in Sweden for Joss, and I'm just hungover as fuck. Like, go to make some eggs and pick up this pan. I was like, whoa, this thing's fucking heavy. And TJ and Justin just like ran with that. Like, oh, is that pan so heavy? So then I just had to run with it and go way over the top as I do. And I literally carried that pan to the award ceremonies. And there's a clip in Chug Life of me like drinking beer out of it and the whole crowd cheers, but it's not for me. It was for something else going on behind me. But I'm just standing up there like, yeah, holding a fucking pan, wearing some goggles I found on the ground, bowling shoes. An absolute dog show. That's when I really embraced.
So let's just tangent on that question. So let's do Joss 2010 because we already went way beyond it, kind of. So you guys get invited, and this you just named the whole crew. I found it fun because that was like where I only met you. I think only time in life or something like this. But like you guys, so it's a film contest that Unolson put on called the Unolson Super Sessions, and then the teams were broken up by country. So Ian went with Team Canada, and then they all had to create a themed edit that had to have jumps, urban, music, composure, whatever. But they had to make an edit and put it out. So when you guys went into this event, like, are you thinking it's going to be a joke? Or do you go with like comedy on the mental the whole time? Like, we're going to fuck shit up, like with being retarded? Or are you going with like, no, we're ill? Like what was your, like, it's interesting because you guys made a very special piece.
It was like TJ wanted to win, Justin wanted to win. I was the rookie on the team, so that the rules were the rookie just couldn't have competed in X Games. And I didn't because I was the first alternate, so I qualified for the rookie spot. But TJ and Justin wanted to win. I was just fucking happy to be there. Like, that was such a legendary event every year. And we tried hard in skiing. Hard is a relative term. We did some skiing, but we didn't have an angle.
But did Darren have an angle? Because Darren's a smart motherfucker.
Darren won that contest for us. Like, it was.
Does he come and play the song for you right away? Like, do you guys come into the contest knowing what song you're going to use?
No, we figured that out when we were there. Oh, actually, Darren had an idea. He had a few options, and we liked that Elliot Brood guy because he's Canadian and it's kind of our style. But Clark was, I remember Simon making fun of us because Clark was just finished skiing, and he was like, why the fuck did you bring a skier to do your filming? And then he saw the shots that Clark got, and Simon's like, oh, I get it. Clark is an absolute visionary. And that guy, like, the guys will say that we didn't work hard at all. And on the skiing side, we did a shit ton of partying. We threw POC was our sponsor for that event, and we threw a Team Canada party, and it was open bar, just the loosest night of Joss by far. Like, LJ puking everywhere. But when we finalized the video, I remember Teach talked to one of the judges, and the judges are like, there's one video that stands above all the rest. And Teach came back and he's like, dude, we got fucking dead last. Like, we're an embarrassment, blah, blah, blah. We all thought we were dead last. And so we went to the awards ceremony. I was like, I don't give a fuck, dude. I had an awesome time. This has been great. If we get dead last, that's totally fine. And when we won, it was just outrageous. Like, on multiple fronts. And people were pissed because a lot of skiers put their bodies on the line and worked really fucking hard. Like Simon and Tom were super fucking pissed. I don't even think they came out and partied with us, and I'm close with both those guys.
They released their video online the next day when it was supposed to be exclusive for you. They were so pissed.
Exactly. They did that because they were pissed at Yoon for letting us win. And then, but a lot of the guys that came around, and I explained it to them, I was like, it's a video contest. It's not a skiing contest. And watch the videos. Like, our video is the most entertaining.
So from my side, I was head judge, right, of the video contest. So we go through, watch all the videos, and there's the snowboard. And I'm like, there's only one winner here. You guys know who it all is. And because you named me the head judge, like whatever, so I gotta like talk.
I didn't even know you were head judge. That's awesome.
And they're like, kind of, and I'm like, well, this one, they thought of the soundtrack. It relates to where they come from. They're called Team Canada, correct? See that at the first logo? So their song already tells me what I could shut my eyes and tell you where they come from.
Yeah.
I can't do that with any other. So now as a video, and now, because you had to do urban and big air, how did they address their urban? They had Cosco say twice, I ain't doing urban. So oh, buddy. So they met the criteria of urban in the video because they addressed it in a fucking cinematic way. And if we're judging what's the best production for value, this one dominates. All this other shit is rap music, the fucking dope tricks. Yay. Like, where's the hot chicks? And so I did this, convinced them all, and then so I just had to sway all the other judges. It was like Raph and some snowboard guys and whatever, and all went along. So we're at the fucking ceremony. Yoon comes up to my table, and he's like, "Yo, Weiberg, can you change it, please, to have Tom and Simon win?" And I go, Yoon, did you hire me to be the fucking head judge of your goddamn video contest because I'm the smartest one here for it? And I'm not changing my shit. If you do, fuck you, and I'm out.
No.
Dude, so he got so bummed and sad. And so, yeah, that was my perspective from my angle. And I always wanted to tell you guys that because to me it was the funniest shit. Like, for you to beg not have you guys be the winner.
Dude, I have never heard that perspective. It was Raph that Teach talked to, but he just assumed that Simon and Tom's video was the best. And
they were the first winner.
Yeah.
Like, when everyone was doing the checklist, I'm like, are we judging the X Games here? Are we? Music.
My man. So we owe it to you, that whole thing.
I went hard.
I fucking love it.
A reoccurring theme? Who else has a reoccurring theme? And then it's about the three best friends that they ever had. Man, they keep it correct. I know there's three competitors if I shut my eyes once again.
Uh-huh.
I can remember your segment all because of how Darren put the shit together. Song choice, everything, and then it all matched up. And so to me, still to this day, I can tell you there was dope shit in the other videos, but fun. There's dope shit every day on the internet.
Yeah. I mean, I think the year before when Tej and I just got thrown into that the year before because Justin was hurt, I think. And we tried. We skied hard, and I think we got third.
Yeah, but that was the year fucking Simon and Wallace. Wallace was like Jesus, right? And he was floating.
Yeah, exactly.
It's iconic.
Yeah.
So your edit. So I was talking with Casabon this morning about it. Your edit, the Wallace edit where he's Jesus, and then the My Friend's a Pro. No three videos top any three of those that you produced?
Yeah. I mean, Colby and John on that My Friends of Pro shit was unreal.
We just used that recently to troll people on April Fool's Day. Did you see this?
No.
I posted our podcast, and I was like, new episode just dropped. We interviewed Candide, and everyone's racing to watch it because they're like, no way, you got Candide. And it's just an hour of My Friends of Pro on repeat.
That's wicked, man.
People were pissed.
They all believed that we could get candy.
It was funny. I got some more viewer questions for you.
Sure.
Just while we're talking, Chug. Barkley, did you start the fart flamethrower wave?
No, that's credit to Reed Speedman.
Well, funny you mentioned Reed. Barkley also asked, who would win in a fight, you or Reed?
Oh, man, I'd like to think me, but Reed's got a little bit of fucking crazy in him, and if he really wanted to beat the shit out of me, he probably would. He's pretty jacked right now, too.
So what's the Reed story on the fart flamethrower?
Literally just Reed being Reed, like one of the funniest guys I know. He just started lighting his farts on fire, and it was fucking hilarious. He's like, I'm bringing Blue Angels back. And I was like, I am on board. We're doing it.
You're stringing these together great because somebody else asked. Let me see.
I want to know before you do this, like if anyone's listening, you do it, use jeans. Don't try to do it through thin boxers. Nylon pants are a horrible idea. But yeah, jeans can make dreams come true without pain.
All right, this dude Aaron asked, how many Blue Angels are in Chug Life 6?
Ooh.
And is that what you guys called the fart flamethrower?
Yeah, that's a real thing. I don't know, because I strung a bunch together. I would guess like 18. That's
Damn.
my best guess. That was the fun part about. I like the editing side because I just wanted to keep it all raw. And when we were doing the Blue Angels, like it did the slow set of the entire thing for each one, and then just chopped them all together. It's just a string of fart noises, and to this day, I think farts are hilarious. I don't think that'll ever change. Like my girlfriend still, she's like, every time I fart, I'm like giggling to myself, and she's like, "You laugh every time." I'm like, "Yeah, that shit's hilarious. That your body just does that."
All right. And then here's one of the, I think this is one of the last Chug Life questions. C. Mahoney 23. He's saying craziest, funniest backstory to any of the Chug Life stuff, or stuff that you didn't get footage of. Was there anything that happened that you missed and that just never made it into a Chug episode?
Or something you didn't miss, but you couldn't put it in because it was that next level.
Not really. I wasn't really holding back. Like there were some things that like the Dickster, for instance, that I thought maybe I shouldn't put this in there, but I didn't really hold back. And I don't know if we missed much. Nothing that I can think of at the top of my head.
What was your filming process like? Like, were you guys just always filming?
Well, I mean, this is before we had camera phones and shit. So I would carry around a little like mini tape camera. And there was no process, my guy. I just had this camera. And
there's obviously no storyboard, but you were just the dude that was always had a camera on him for that period of your life.
Yeah, and I would kind of pick and choose the nights and events, I guess, where I thought something would come out of it. And generally speaking, it did. But we didn't plan shit until like the last episode when we actually did some scripted things. But it was just completely organic, which is why I think it did well, but impossible to maintain.
Yeah.
Did you plan release dates ever? Like, did you ever say, oh, I want to film the next episode from this date to that date and put it out on this date? Or was everything just random?
It was pretty random until I signed a deal with New Schooler, so they had the exclusive rights to it, and I had to put out a certain amount of episodes a year. And I think it was 6. And so then I kind of had hard dates, and they never really pressured me, but there was, I think, Chug Life 4 was one that I had done it, and I put it all together, and I watched it a million times, and I was like, man, this is fucking awful. Like, this is not going to do well. This is right when it was catching on, and people were really gaining interest, and I put that one out with, like, shame, thinking it was just going to flop. And that one did better than, I think, all of them.
Is this the one you start with the beginning? You're like, I guess I have to do another fucking episode.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, so to me, as a fan, when I watched that, like, and looking back, I was always like, oh man, he's pressured now. Because I remember, like, because they made a deal, right? Like, they, like, put out a press release on their homepage saying, Chug Life signed the New Schooler deal. So us in the New Schooler world, we think that's all right, dude. We're getting fucking content from this guy on our platform. But when you came out with that, it was kind of fun because I was thinking like it was an overload kind of concept at that point as a consumer of everything, like whatever. Loved it.
Yeah, and that was, I never wanted to change the like the attitude behind it, because somebody approached me that wanted to produce it and like really promote it, and they were like, okay, you got to cut this, and I was like, no
thanks.
it is what it is, you know. And I turned down a bunch of money just to keep it real, and I knew this wasn't going to be my lifelong career being a Chug Life host, you know. So I didn't really care. It was, and I think that's what made it successful, is the don't give a shit factor.
How much money is Chug Life bringing in as a video thing?
Not a whole lot.
What's not a whole lot? Because I'm at the same time period, I'm fucking making 1 billion edits for like nothing, right? Like Inspired TV. So I was doing all those different episodes from every region, and we're putting out like 3 from every region. And I had 8 different shows. And so it was like 11, whatever. It was nuts. So I put you in this time period because you were like, your ending was kind of the beginning of Lafa, beginning of Good Company, beginning of fucking, who are the homies? Parker White and Chris Logan. So it's just kind of fun because like you really like had this element of like, creating something different with personality. So I know they got some kind of money, but like, are people coming to you with any cash at all to do it? Or are they still like piggybacking because they're your sponsor and they expect you to make content?
It was mostly piggybacking, but the whole idea of you had to produce content as an athlete wasn't a thing back then. This was a totally new concept to my sponsors, so they didn't really know how to handle it. I got more money from Skull Candy specifically because I could tap into their athlete budget and their media side. Yep. So I made more money from Skull Candy than most of the guys that were winning do tours and shit, which was pretty funny. But I mean, I was making like in the beginning, it was like 50 grand, 60 grand
from Skull Candy.
No. That's like all my sponsors. That's everything combined, not from Skull Candy. Sorry, I should have worded that better. And then towards the end of my career, I was making like close to 6 figures. It was pretty good money for being a kid that was just fucking around.
And what was your biggest source? Like, what was people paying you the most for? Like your skiing, your show, like for you to be in other movies, everything as one? Were you competing? When Chug Life was Did you ever quit competing?
It was a combination. Like I honestly don't know how the sponsors broke it down, but I just got a solid retainer.
Okay.
Like Monster was my highest paying sponsor for sure. And then like Atomic and Dragon and Era, that clothing company that Peter and Joe rode for as well. And then Skull Canyon, like a couple minor ones. But it was just kind of like I was doing a bit of everything. The Chug Life thing was probably the most important, but I was still competing, and some sponsors wanted me to focus on competing. Some wanted me to film. Some wanted me to just do Chug Life. It was interesting. I don't know how they broke it down on their budget end, but
these years, everyone was lost too because no one knew what was important. Like 2013,
yeah,
like companies were all of a sudden like, post your video on Facebook, it gets 1 billion views. And then you're like, yeah, just because you're scrolling on the main screen and this autoplay for their videos only. You know,
Yeah.
and then I'm spending half my day talking to companies how that's not a real view and it's not even a real consumer of our sport. I'd rather have 5 views on new schoolers because those 5 people buy a product than
Yeah.
1 million views on Facebook. So no one, you're at a very interesting point when creating content as far as like someone to try to put a value on you. Because everyone who's paying you didn't have a fucking clue what had value.
Yeah, and it exactly like you're saying, like to go watch Chug Life, you had to go and search it, you know? It wasn't going to pop up on your feed. That didn't exist back then.
No.
Did you, when you would go out, because filming while you're out is so different from like, you know, just filming around at a contest. Would chicks think that you were super duper famous?
No.
So it never helped you get laid?
No. No, that was I mean, I'm being like a B/C grade skier.
Yeah.
I'd be in a room and it would be, or like at a bar or whatever, and there's girls and then they just want to talk to TJ and Simon, and I'm just kind of in the background, and I'd be like the 4th or 5th pick down the line sometimes.
So having a camera with a flash on you it didn't help at all. You were just
Not when you're with TJ and Simon.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of those girls probably did, like, you know, they don't really know the scene. You know, they.
If they're in a place where TJ and Simon are, they know the scene.
Yeah.
And TJ's going, ladies. And then Simon's like, drinks for everyone. And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, at the end of the day, they did have all the money, so I guess that's what ultimately wins.
Yeah, when I eventually hired a filmer, that definitely helped because then I had a guy following me around.
No, that's what I'm talking about. Like, yeah, there's somebody following.
Oh, I thought you meant when it was me holding the camera.
No, that's definitely not helping at all. That's definitely not. No, when you had someone following you around and you were on camera.
That definitely helped. I don't know if it actually
worked.
Bought me girls, yeah, because I mean they're filming me doing something absolutely ridiculous, so. Not the best luck.
Did you ever get injured?
What's that?
You ever been injured skiing?
Oh yeah, I'm one of probably the only pro skiers that didn't blow their knee out, I think.
Damn.
But I mean, like minor injuries left, right, and center, and I'm sore every day. I'll tell you that. And like my biggest problem was my back. I got spondylolisthesis, where like my discs have all compressed so much that they started popping in rather than bulging out, and that's like gonna cause problems for the rest of my life. That was my biggest issue.
Fucking nuts, man. No, any concussions?
Oh yeah, too many.
I'm gonna start asking this question to every person now because it's wild. How many do you think you got in life?
I gotta be careful here because I'm a pilot. I'm not
All
really
right, I didn't know there
talk
was.
about it.
All right, so we can leave it at a lot.
Yeah.
Let's we could transition. So Chug Life comes to an end. What's next? And what actually I'm not sure if we already covered it, but like what caused it to end?
Honestly, a big part was I went to a monster camp, or no, it was before that. I got a concussion, and then I went to the monster camp in Utah, and that's when Sarah hit her head, like at that camp, and I was just recovering from my concussion, and I couldn't really come back after that, like realizing that Sarah had died. Not to get all sad and shit here, but that like took a huge toll on all of us, and I just couldn't ski. Like I just couldn't hack it after that. I was doing these contests and was just like on edge all the time because I had it in the back of my mind that I could actually die from this. I never considered it.
So you were in Park City then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And when she crashed, it was obviously horrible. And like Bushy wasn't even there. And we spent days and days in the hospital just hanging out because we were all staying at the Monster Crew House. And then we had to go to Vermont, and that's when Sarah actually passed. And it was like devastating, man. Like, and even then, I don't think I landed a run, and then doing like Grand Prix, and I just could not get my head together. And then I got cut from, there was a Canadian team at this point, and that's when I was like an Olympic prospect because they put the Olympics in 2014 for slope. And yeah, I got cut from that team and then got dropped by Atomic, and it all just kind of came together at once. And I was like, I always had the plan to be a pilot anyway. Like I almost quit skiing several times when I was in Utah just because I wasn't making enough money, and I was going to focus on the pilot thing. But then I started making more and more money, and I just put it on hold. So once I lost the Canadian team, my like a Monster eventually dropped me. I enrolled in school to finish my commercial license and all that shit. And that transition was tough because I'd only known skiing my entire life. And my biggest thing was like my boys were skiers and they were still skiing and they were still on top. And I was like, how are they going to accept me as a fucking nerd in school? You know, like I had to wrap my brain around I might lose all my best friends here. And that was the biggest thing to overcome. And of course, these guys are like lifelong friends. So they were supportive, like pretty blown away at first, but super supportive. And I was just hanging out with a bunch of them last weekend. Like we're still.
You just ripped a Band-Aid off and you just said it's over? Like you walked away straight from something? It wasn't like after that season you're like, oh, let's try a little more, see if the fire exists anymore. It was done?
It was pretty much done. I did like my last season. I did a bunch of. I didn't get invited to any of the major events, so I did a bunch of like amateur contests, and I actually made more money doing that than. I think people were. I know Alex Bellemar was pretty pissed at this one event that I won because he was like, "But you compete at fucking X Games, man. It's an amateur event," and I was like. Yeah, but I'm not.
X Games. I did not get invited, so I am.
And I was like, man, it's an amateur event. You got to be able to beat me if you want to go pro, because I'm fucking shit, dude. Like I'm at the end. I'm competing am.
Yeah. Before we get into all I really want to talk about the pilot stuff, but just to focus on this, since I mean, I remember when all this news came out. Like I was a kid, and like this is the first big ski news I heard. Was it rattling for you guys because it was like the first big death that wasn't from an avalanche? Because I feel like from the outside, most people are like, oh yeah, skiers, the big risk is in the backcountry. But this was the first time it was like, oh, even like in a contained setting, it's not like a risk of being paralyzed. Like you could actually die hitting a built sculpted feature, like not an act of God.
Yeah, for sure. And it changed everything for me. And I think a lot of people, like, it was just devastating. Like, Sarah was absolute legend, like one of the best people on the fucking planet. And to have her gone just in general. And what scared me the most was, like, I'm not scared of dying. You die, you're dead. That's it. It's what it did to everybody else. Like, we were all in Vermont at the time, and we all got together, and it was just like, well, I've never seen so many grown men cry, and I was like, this is the kind of impact it has on people that care about you. And that was what caused more problems for me anyway, mentally.
Yeah, it was like all the people you leave behind, like that risk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I was going to say, yeah, because, I mean, your current career isn't much safer necessarily.
Oh, more people die doing this shit for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But that is an interesting perspective. I never thought of, yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
And to bring that up, it's like it's the brain thing. Why I want to bring up the concussions is so younger kids hear it too, because it's a personal choice, and I'm stoked you made a choice because it's not often I know of people that made a choice for their brain.
Yeah.
Like whether CR, like he had his thing, and like he had like fucking how many concussions before, and was in a coma, and then like he made the choice to keep going, and then Sarah was probably at, like 40 concussions.
Yeah.
I mean, I like minimum,
Oh.
So like when I want to put it in perspective that an avalanche can take you out once if you're in perfect fucking physical health. But if you're in a mentally brain trauma state where you've had multiple concussions that have put you under for a while, it's not that half pipe that day that took her out. It was continuous choices.
Like a lifetime of it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone that we know and everyone we're talking to, even Marie last week, like everyone, I guarantee you the number is huge. I had 6 by 9th grade.
Oh man, it's unfathomable. Like, it's surprising that there aren't more major head injuries. And I mean, with CTE, that being way more public now, and it'll be interesting to see, like, did my generation and the generation before me, how that plays out with everyone.
Yeah, well, they'll be able to hook you up to some AI thing, and then they can read where it's at if you're a high-performing athlete, and then like figure out what to bring your brain, and then put some springs in there to give it extra cushion.
Yeah, that's what we need, internal helmets.
Everything's possible today.
Yeah. So, all right, the pilot stuff, because this shit's so sick. You mentioned earlier when we were talking that, like, while you were in Utah, you did like some training already.
Yeah, so I started a degree at Westminster College down there to do my full commercial pilot's license. So I did my private pilot's license, which is basically you just can't fly for money, but you can fly planes by yourself and with your friends and whatnot.
Where did the interest even originate?
Oh, it's in my blood. My dad's a pilot. Like, he just flew privately, so I grew up in his kind of small planes. And then his dad was an Air Canada pilot, flying big jets, and he was in the Air Force. And my mom's dad was in the Royal Air Force in England, and my mom's brother's a pilot. Like,
so it's weird. It's weirder for you to not be one than it is to be one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Sick. All right. So that makes a lot more sense. So you get your private license while you're in college, quote unquote, in college.
Yeah, I flunked out of college. First time. I got it the second time.
So then you're transitioning out of skiing, and you're like, okay, like this was your backup plan all along, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like my original plan, but then skiing was just going somewhere, and I was like, this is fun. I'm going to keep going with it. And then, when my career was dwindling off, I just applied for a college in Vancouver called BCIT and got in, even with my 51% high school average. And didn't really turn back from there. I finished school in like a year and a half and then moved up here. That's where I've been.
So sick. Iberg, did you know about any of this pilot stuff?
I know that's what you've been doing, and I just think of big tires and fucking whatever kind of airplanes. So if I fly with Bushy, I'm like, all right, that's probably something fucking Chug Life flies. And I see Alaska fly in their airplanes. I'm like, that's probably what he's doing right now.
Yeah, that's part of my business for sure. But
what do you do? Like, what when you get your pilot license and you move to a place like Whitehorse? What is a job that you would get as a pilot?
So I got a job. My first job was as a first officer on a plane called a King Air, and we were flying medevacs, which sounds more exciting than it is. It's more like transferring patients because we're up north and we don't have the best hospital facilities and surgeons and whatnot. So we'd fly people down from Whitehorse to Vancouver, Edmonton, or shit like that. And that was honestly a pretty boring job. I thought it was going to be more exciting.
Well, because it sounds like you're rescuing people, but these are stable people that are already in the hospital. Like you're basically just transporting a body, it's not like a go. It's like
yeah, exactly.
Have you been to Whitehorse before moving there?
Yeah, so because my parents, they lived here in like the 70s and 80s. And they had a cabin on a lake. We still have it, actually. We would come up in the summers, and my uncle, he lives here. So we'd come up and visit in the summer. So I was pretty familiar with the area.
So now, even though familiar, like, was it normal enough? Or are you, because I mean, you're north. If people are listening to this, like, look at where Whitehorse, Yukon is. Yukon is in Canada. But yeah, just because I got to drive through it when I went to Alaska, and then I always bug out. I'm like, what? Like, because you don't hit a city 600 miles before it.
Yeah,
you're coming up like shit like this, like bring an extra couple tires. Like you're getting to Whitehorse by popping tires and running out of fuel. You live in a place where I could kill someone on the road and hang out and dance around his body for a day and still no cars pass me, and then drive another 300 miles to his house. I'm putting in perspective, so I'm just trying to imagine, because like, dude, you just lived such a wild, luxury, global lifestyle. And even though you come from something that's so familiar and you're grounded, sounds like you have a mom and dad and two brothers that told you ain't shit even if you shit, so fucking weird. So you get it. You're probably humble enough that you didn't think Chug Life was ever cool, because if you show it at a family meal, they're going to be like, what the fuck's wrong with you? And then they'll be like, but I get paid. And they're like, we don't care, that shit's gay. And you know what I mean? So you have that grounding in life, but like when you actually move to this whole new lifestyle of working a job and living in the fucking Arctic, like, what is it fun? Do you like the lifestyle of a mid-20-year-old late 20-year-old living in Yukon?
Yeah, I mean, there's a surprising amount of young people up here. Not that I'm young anymore, but when I first moved up, I was 27, and I met a bunch of people through my job right away, and it wasn't as difficult as I thought it was going to be, for sure. Like, adjusting to a normal job, every pro athlete that's retired will attest to this. Like, it sucks. Like, you don't realize the amount of freedom. And I talked to Anthony Bornowski before I quit, because I was like, what do you miss the most? Because I got to do this at some point. And he was the one that told me, it's like, it's the freedom, man. Like, you don't realize how much freedom you actually have. You think you're tied to these events and shoots and shit, but you're not really. But when you're at a real job, you're tied to that job. Like everything relies on that job, and if you're not there, you're done. So it's the freedom that took a lot of adjusting.
Well, as a late 20-year-old and going from a lifestyle of even if you were a fifth wheel, there was still women. Maybe. Is there women in Whitehorse?
There's enough, yeah. I had fun in my 20s for sure.
Is it like the ski town setup where it's 5 to 10 guys fighting for every one girl?
Yeah, pretty much. In the beginning, like being the new guy, that made life a lot easier.
True. You could just bounce from Yukon town to Yukon town.
It's pretty much just one major town.
Oh, I actually, well, I mentioned it. I want to ask you about this. Do Americans ever mistake where you're living for University of Connecticut? Because I got it going the other way. Because I went to the University of Connecticut, also known as UConn. And so when I tell people not from the Northeast, I'm like, oh yeah, I went to UConn. They're like, you went to school up in Northern Canada? I'm like, no, dude.
That's the weirdest thing I never thought of.
What's funny too is like the University of Connecticut's team is the Huskies, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a lot of confusion. Yeah.
There's a Husky on the Yukon flag up here, so that makes it even more confusing.
So you have done that?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I got pulled over in Alberta a couple of years ago, and I handed the guy my Yukon driver's license, and he's an RCMP, like Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and he was like, "Oh, when was the last time you were in Canada?" And long story short, he thought the Yukon was in Alaska, and I was like, "Dude, you're like a 55-year-old Canadian man. You need to look at a fucking map, dude." Like, the amount of people that think the Yukon is in Alaska or America is ridiculous.
Do you guys have like Inuits living near you where you're at?
Not Inuits, but yeah, there's a lot of like natives, First Nation.
So different tribes, yeah. But they're like, are they on reservations up there, or is it kind of all integrated?
No, it's all integrated. Like they have like their specific land, but it's not reservations at all. I'm on Kwanlin Dun First Nation land right now.
Yeah. Wild. I always thought that. I'm trying to get up there. Yeah. Canada's
Ethan, the best Yukon story if you go to Alaska. So, like, I was driving with someone, and they're like, hey, right before you get to Alaska, pull over to the side, and then check behind the barriers on the poles along the road, and you can find weed, and everyone stashes their pipes and weed and shit. And so I couldn't believe it my first time driving to Alaska, and we stopped like a couple miles before the border, start searching every pole, and we found pipes. So we're like, another fucking pipe, god damn it. And then we finally found a bag of weed, and we smoked that right before we went to the U.S. again.
So what is that? Just truckers storing stuff before they go
every
to the border?
Human.
Yeah.
Every person that's like, oh, okay, I'm going to leave my stash on this side of the border, then cross. And then you can cross, and you can start checking the side of the barriers again.
Dude, that's hilarious. I've never heard that.
I couldn't believe it was true.
That's wild. That's wild. So you were doing the medevac, which is more exciting than it sounds more exciting than it actually is. Where does it progress from there?
So then I did a little stint in Vancouver doing the same thing, and then I had the opportunity to come fly for this company that I'm with now. And it's the bush flying. Like basically our entire revenue is based on mining and exploration, like people looking for gold, but there's a surprising amount of money in that. And it's all seasonal. So we do all our flying from May to October. But 3 years ago, I took over the company, and now I'm mostly office. But that freedom that I once had does not exist at all anymore. Like I work every fucking day in some capacity. So it's a very drastic change from what my life once was.
Damn.
So what does that mean? You run a flying company that has prospectors looking for gold. You just fly them and then land on sandbars, and then people poke around and get samples. Like, how does this shit work up there?
Yeah, I mean, now it's there's so much funding in it that they have major drill operations going. Like, they're drilling thousands of meters deep. So it starts with, they kind of clear out an area that we can land, and eventually you get some equipment in there, nothing major, and they build us airstrips to land on, and they're all like shitty and challenging, and that's what keeps it fun. Is it's not like flying an airline where you're just going the same route all the time using the autopilot, and they got auto land and shit now. It's like we're out there actually flying and doing the real work.
You ever had any of your pilots go rogue and start flying for the cartel, if that's your highest skill set?
I mean, am I getting a cut out of this, or?
Where's the money coming from?
No, I mean,
you know, this is a scheme podcast.
Yeah. I don't think we're in the right location to be flying for the cartel.
I was saying, like, if I was thinking of your skill sets that you just described, I was like, fuck, man, these are unbelievable skill sets you guys have. I bet they would be very valuable at another level other than what you're doing.
Landing in the jungle.
Oh, absolutely, man. Like you see those videos of the planes, like the movie American Made, that kind of flying, that gnarly shit where he's in the jungle. It's the same concept up here. We're just in the mountains.
So where does someone that's adventurous from your region, where would they go and use their skill set somewhere else in the world? Does anyone leave and do something else like this?
Not really, no. The only guys that have left have gone to fly for the airlines, and that's just kind of cushy, better lifestyle in a lot of ways, but the work is just so boring, in my opinion.
What's the gnarliest part about what you or your people do?
Just the region that we're in. It's the same in Alaska. Like, the mountains are so big, the weather is close enough to the coast that it's constantly changing, and the airstrips, if you can call them that we go to, are like short, and you got to be dialed and on point to make sure you're not wrecking anything. But there's a lot of different challenges. I'm not sure what the most challenging part is.
You guys protocol every year?
What's that?
Like, does someone crash once a year at least in your group, or is it not? These are all ignorant questions because I know. No. We're knock on wood, crashless. Since there was one crash before I was here, but that was 2014, and we haven't had a crash since. Again, I'm gonna knock on wood because we got to work with the bad runways, eh?
What's that?
Good work with the bad runways, eh?
Yeah, no, it's we got a good team. I mean, I'm pretty heavy on vetting the guys that we hire and making sure that, one, they're interested in this kind of flying, because not everyone is, and second, they have the skill set. And so far, so good.
What's the say? You have an equipment malfunction when you're out in the bush. You land fine, but then shit's not getting started. What do you guys do at that point? Because then you're out in the middle of nowhere. Like, do you bring supplies and stuff and for a scenario like that?
I mean, we've had we carry in reaches and whatnot. So when you get a flat tire, it's like a GPS tracker thing that you can text on.
Okay, sick.
Yeah, they're awesome. And when you get a flat tire or something in the bush, I mean, there are scenarios where, like, I've had to fix a flat tire and fly the thing home. And then but most of the time, like, I got my one plane that's just like bushies on big tires. So if somebody gets into a situation out there, I can run out and bring a mechanic with me, or bring supplies to fix something or grab the passengers or whatever.
Do you ever like trip out on the remoteness of it? Because you get to, when you're flying, you get to see just how deep you're going, and you're like, okay, I'm just this far out. There's no roads.
Flowers.
There's polar bears.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm kind of accustomed to it now, but you get out there and sometimes I'm just cruising along and I'm like, holy fuck, like where are we? This is the middle of fucking nowhere. You don't see people for. I mean, I've done trips where I spent 2 weeks up on the north end of Banks Island, it's called, which is 74 degrees north. It's way the fuck up there, and I was up there for 2 weeks with no communication, nothing, just bombing around with a couple other people that I didn't know. And you go to places like that where you're hundreds, if not thousands of miles from anybody. It's pretty trippy, yeah.
Yeah. It must really, like down here in the States, I live in a van right now, and I'll be driving around, and people will be like, you gotta go to West Texas, that's real remote. I go there, and I'm like, dude, there's roads and gas stations. Like, I don't think there's anywhere that's actually remote here unless you go to, like the wilderness in Idaho. And even then, you're not that far.
No, like maybe across the middle of Nevada.
But even then, there's roads, dude. There's roads everywhere. There's truckers going through. There's
True. There's dirt roads everywhere.
Yeah, there's dirt. Even if you're on a dirt road, that's still way more infrastructure than what these guys are working with.
Yeah, somebody told me a stat recently that said like there isn't a plot of land or something bigger than 2 miles without roads in it in the States.
Wow.
I can't remember exactly. Do not quote me on that, but it was something ridiculous.
That seems right. Because now I was even thinking of the Nevada, like when I was thinking about the most like solid road that I went across the middle, east to west. You still have a dirt road off to the side every 2 miles.
Right, yeah.
I was always like, yo, I want to drive down there, but there's a murderer.
Yeah, for sure.
Damn.
Man, how do people, I'm just going to pick your brain on random shit that doesn't matter. But like, how does someone find gold in the middle of nowhere? Does there have to be one access road that they keep probing on? Or can they actually find something in the middle of nowhere and then drop down infrastructure in the middle of fucking nowhere because they felt the geological shit was right?
No, nowadays there's so much technology and pretty much everything's been prospected. I mean, they started prospecting here in the 1800s, right? So everyone has an idea of where the gold might be, but it's whether or not they want to spend the money or get the backing to drill, because they spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on these projects. But they've got survey machines and shit that can analyze at least surface minerals. And I don't understand it completely, but I've seen a lot of their project pamphlets, and they've got all these geographical maps.
The point being is they can drop you down in the middle of nowhere. Like they can find their spot. Like it doesn't have to be a road that keeps going out and looking for something. It's like all of a sudden you can fly over these trees forever, and then something like an island.
Yeah, they're all in the middle of fucking nowhere, and that's why there's no road access whatsoever. So that's where our business comes in.
Have you been up there before, Ethan?
No, I'm going to Alaska this summer. That'll be the farthest north I've ever been.
Dude, these trees, the tundra trees or whatever they are, like that's my only memory too. Like when I hit Whitefish and then crossed over, like all those fucking weird ass trees that stick up.
Yeah.
That's wild.
It was the weirdest place of the globe I've ever been visually. But at the same time, like you hit the most beautiful shit at the same time. You're just like, where am I?
Yeah.
You ever seen the show Alone?
Yeah.
Survival show? That's like kind of up in your neck of the woods, right?
Yeah. I think they did one in the Northwest Territories that was like, it's like an hour and a half flight from me.
Yeah.
Like where they did it. Yeah. And so that's like very similar. Same kind of shit.
Yeah, sorry, that's a good. Do you stay strapped for wildlife when you're flying out there?
No, I mean, we're in Canada, so handguns are illegal and shit now. I have a pistol that's grandfathered in, and I tried to get the approval to carry while I'm in the bush, and I couldn't get it, which is shitty because I've had some scenarios where like
But you could bring a hunting rifle, right? Or like just even though it'd be defensive at that point.
Yeah, and I do have a shotgun and whatnot that I can bring, but most of the time I don't really care about that.
And you've taken down a bear before?
Be a scenario why you need a gun. What happened?
Just bears, man. There's grizzly bears everywhere up here.
So when you land your airplane in the middle of nowhere of a cut forest, then all of a sudden a bear comes running up at you when you land?
But they're curious, and if they haven't seen an airplane before, like fuck, I almost landed on a grizzly bear a few years ago, and like on an airstrip that was on a bank, so you can only land the one way, and I'm coming in, and he ran across the runway, and it was like, oh fuck, and I thought I was going to hit him, and I put him right under my wing.
Oh my god!
Have you ever known one that's hit a grizzly bear with an airplane?
Nope.
That'd be such a dope fucking comment. Like, because everyone hits deer in Minnesota. It's normal. Like, what if you're like, oh, fucking Billy hit a grizzly with his plane last week?
Yeah, I don't think that's a common occurrence, but it's possible.
I got some viewer questions for you.
Sure.
I'm assuming this is a plane-related question from Jake Kamantia.
Oh, I know Jake. Yeah.
He says TPE 331 versus PT6.
That's the TPE 331 all day. He knows that.
So translate that for us stupid people.
It's just those are both different turbine engines. So on 4 of my planes, they usually come with a PT6 that's 675 horsepower, but we've upgraded them to the TPE 331, which is 950 horsepower.
Oh, so you've been ripping out those other pieces of junk.
Yeah. All day.
Yeah.
All day.
Let's see what else. Mun Rodeo. What's the best bar in Whitehorse?
There's a few good ones. I mean, the Dirty Northern is the classic. It's been around forever. The 98 is actually been around forever. It's old as fuck, and it's pretty fun. There's Sheep Camp. There's quite a few good spots.
See, that's what
I have a tangent question.
Does
the bird Tundra Wookiee exist to locals in Whitehorse?
Not that I know of.
You don't know what it means?
No.
So when we drove up there, when we made Idea, so 2007, we went to some bar in Whitehorse, and then we lost one of our friend filmers. Like, he hooked up with a chick, ended up in a trailer park like half an hour outside of town. And so we found him in the morning, on our way to Alaska. He made his way back. And he's like, one of the Tundra Wookiees got me. She looked hot last night. And still to this day, so whenever I think of a chick from Whitehorse, that's the kind of could make you have drunk goggles, I think of a Tundra Wookiee.
That's fucking hilarious, man.
So you left skiing where there's obviously a big brotherhood and sisterhood, and people are tight. Did you end up finding that with being a pilot? Because I feel like it's the same thing as a fire department or a police force. It's all you guys doing the same dirty work.
Yeah, dude, for sure. And that's why in my team here it's just filled with good dudes, and we got the same kind of camaraderie, and it's a lot like the ski community where we got the common goal, but we all just like hanging out and having beers after work. And
yeah,
it's good shit. It's the same kind of concept.
But you probably have to hire guys that have without a doubt, have to have their act together. You can't hire any loose characters, right? Because you guys are doing some legitimately dangerous work.
Oh yeah, there's a line for sure where you gotta be on point and hardworking and skilled and all that. But
you gotta be a little bit crazy to do what you do, though, right?
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I would say 99% of bush pilots love having a cold beer after work because it's a stressful job. And yeah, you got to calm that looseness a little bit.
Yeah. If a regular civilian wanted to come up to just see the area, do you guys do tourism stuff, or is it only for the gold prospecting?
We do a bit of tourism, but I kind of shy away from it just because there's not as much money in it. And like my neighbors here at the airport, they do a lot of tourism stuff, so I usually send people their way.
Yeah.
What's the coolest thing to do in Whitehorse?
Shit, man. I mean, as a resident here, like the hunting and fishing is world class. Like we also do a lot of flying for hunting outfits, where guys will pay $45,000 US to come and hunt up here.
So do you feed yourself?
Yeah, I've got some meat in the freezer, but I'm so busy with work nowadays. I didn't even get out hunting last year. This year I'm planning on it, but
sick.
Yeah.
All right. Well, just going through these viewer questions. I forgot to ask this one when we were talking about the series. Mags, was Joe's telemarketer job real or just a skit?
that was a skit, but that's because Joe is fucking hilarious, man. Like one of my best friends, and he bought that stupid headset so he could talk to his girlfriend. And he was like, "You look fucking ridiculous, man." And he's like, "Well, I can't afford long distance charges on my phone. I'm only using Skype, so this is what I need." And I just kept bugging him about it. And I was like, "All right, we're doing something with this. This has got to be a skit."
That's great. Yeah, man. I think that brings us up to the modern day. You got any gnarly hunting stories? We could turn this into what is that show? Meat Eater? Is that the big hunting podcast? Yeah.
Nothing too gnarly, really. I mean, I shot a grizzly bear. Fuck, those 4 years ago now, and I was actually up sheep hunting with my buddy / he's a part of the business too. And we had given up, like weather was shit, and we were just hiking down from the top of this mountain. And he goes, you got your grizzly tag on you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He was like, "Look over there." I'm like, "Oh, fuck me," because we're on the top of this mountain. And I'm like, "All right, I'm going to stalk this thing and see how close we can get. And if it runs off, we're not fucking shooting it." And then we get like 150 yards from it. And I'm like, "All right, I'll tee up on it." And we both had sheep hunting guns, and we got a big fucking grizzly in front of us. I was like, "Once I shoot, you shoot too." And I was using this old gun that my dad refurbished. And because I always just wanted to shoot something with that gun. Wasn't planning on it being a grizzly. But I'd tee up on it, and then I fucking pulled too early. So I missed the thing. And it's 150 yards in front of me, and it just stands up. It's fucking huge, right? Just towering over, trying to figure out where we are. And I'm like, shit, and put another round in. And then my buddy didn't shoot. And then we both then I plugged it.
Why didn't your buddy shoot?
I don't know, but he did the second time. Like, so the bear went back on all fours, and then I got him, like, we both got him through both lungs. Well, his bullet actually didn't make it through the other side because he had such a weak gun, but the thing stands up and it's just like, still doesn't know where we are, and then falls over backwards and dies. And then I had to pack it down from the fucking mountain, and you have to take like the full rug and the full head and paws and everything. And it was like 180 plus pounds, at least 180 plus for sure. And then like had that on my back hiking down treacherous terrain, like no trails whatsoever out there. And I fucking fell over on my back once, and it was starting to get dark, and I was full turtle. Like, could not get up. I'm just waving and like, fuck. And then I eventually like rolled myself and started rolling down the hill. And yeah. Now I got that bear on my
just
floor.
Butcher it up right there. Like, gut it, skin it, everything right in the bush.
Yeah, right in the bush. And then, yeah, I mean, there's no way to pack that thing out, and you got to take as much as you can. With bears, you can leave some meat because it basically feeds the wolves in that area.
But why do you kill a bear? Do you kill it for its meat?
Honestly, they want us to shoot them because they're such aggressive predators. Like, there's a study that they did in Alaska where they collared a bunch of grizzlies and they were killing like thousands and thousands of moose. So the goal in the Yukon is like I'm allowed to shoot a grizzly bear every 3 years, so it's still very contained. But the goal is to conserve the moose and caribou population mostly.
Okay.
And you said you were out there looking for, you said sheep?
Yeah, like bighorn sheep. Well, they're actually called thin horns up here, but they're called doll sheep and stone sheep. And actually, I got one 2 years ago. They look like this.
Gnarly, look at that skull.
Call that a little horn?
That's called a thin horn, yeah. And that's not a very big one, but
That's
the biggest in my office.
yeah, because there's gonna be people. I don't know. Maybe we have a sensitive audience. Maybe we don't. But they're gonna be like, "You killed a bear not for its meat? What the heck?" But yeah, it's like
He just explained it,
yeah.
what the purpose was and why they do it.
No, it's like yeah. Some people it's hard to stomach like what actual conservation looks like because that's what conservation actually looks like. It's culling a population that's messing it up for everybody else.
For sure. I mean, it's definitely well regulated. And it's a touchy subject even up here, but I mean they banned grizzly hunting in BC years and years ago, and the grizzly population is just booming.
Yeah,
The hunters
So is grizzly meat good at all?
with bear meat.
Yeah.
It's all right. You got to kind of cook the shit out of it. It's not the best. I've had some pretty good grizzly barbecue though.
yeah. I'll just say this: this is what actual environmentalism looks like actually responsibly managing wildlife. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think they just unleashed a bunch of wolves in Colorado, and it's a fucking nightmare. Who would have thought a bunch of people in Denver didn't know what was going to happen when you release a bunch of wolves into an ecosystem?
Oh, wolves are gnarly, dude. Wolves will like decimate populations.
Yeah, and they're messing with the farmers and all this stuff right now. So
Yeah.
yeah, hunting's an interesting topic. Go on forever. All right, Iberg, I want to go to this bar now that you mentioned this 86 bar thing.
The 98.
98, excuse me, yeah, 98. Yeah, this looks dope. Like, I want to go just to check out this bar. It looks super sick.
Well, that's actually something that is funny nowadays. Like, I run into guys that are still skiing that drive through here, and I should put that out there. Like, anybody coming through, hit me up, because I can show you around and show you the good spots to eat and drink and whatnot.
So dope. Yeah. Iberg, anything else?
Man, I don't know. I enjoyed the talk with you, man. It was
Yeah,
fun
you
to
too, buddy.
know, like your fucking story and how you came about. Because I never knew any of it. You were just like always kind of this weird guy that's not from Vernon.
Yeah, I think
You know what I mean? Like, because you rolled with all of them, but like you were such a different flavor character. That,
yeah, I've heard that a few times in my life.
just don't feel like you should be going to the same golf course as them.
I got
Not the same country club.
the last one I got for you is what's up with the back tattoo these days? You add to it because that was it was prominently featured in all the stuff you did.
Oh yeah, I'm like covered fucking head to toe in tats now. So the big cross is not the only piece on my back anymore. There's a big snake wrapped around it right now, actually.
Damn, gnarly. All right, well that's all we got.
Beauty.
Thank you so much for your time. This was awesome getting to talk to you. I'm glad you seem busy, so I'm glad we could steal a few hours from you on a work day. It's pretty
Thank
dope.
you so much.
Yeah, I'm happy it worked out, man. Today was kind of slower, so I'll get back to work right after this. But it's been fucking awesome, man. Good reliving the old days.
Yeah, dude. I'll hit you up if I get up there. I'm trying. One day I'll get up there. I'm trying.
Yeah, you bet.
That'll be sick. All right, we'll let you go. We'll record an outro, and that'll be it.
Sounds good, boys. See you later.
Pleasure, man. Keep
Peace
killing
out.
it.
Take care.
Thanks, boys.
Yep. Awesome. Well,
Stay safe.
what'd you think of Chug?
I was stoked. It's fun to learn his story. It's fun to think where he is when you look at a globe, if you have one in your house.
Yeah, I think he's just a really interesting, nice dude, funny dude. This is one of these episodes I go into where it's low stakes. We're not talking about some big Olympic dream. We're just talking about a guy who had a fun career. And
Well, I think
I love that.
all the stories are there, right?
Oh yeah,
It's like he had that option of being a slope style guy.
yeah,
He was on the brink of it. He had the fucking show. So you really have to look at like everything he just said and then be like, dude, he had this all, and then he went through the Sarah scenario.
yeah,
Oh, like that's like we watched Marie last week come out from retirement because of the Sarah scenario. Now we watched Ian go into the retirement scenario because of Sarah.
yeah,
Yeah, so like it's pretty wild to watch because I think what's the dopest part of everything we heard was one, he had another passion, which is a very rarity of the best of skiers because like that their passion is skiing, you know, and so he had something that was always there and always thinking about, and then the fact that like he knew when maybe it wasn't time to try to be the best at something, and that's okay because you can do something else. That's a hard fucking thing.
yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
like the fact he realized that in a mid 20-year-old, late 20-year-old human, like that's not even normal to think about it at such an adult situation.
Yeah.
You should be an adult at age 27. I'm just saying.
No, but I mean, and it shows. Like he obviously played a very goofy character, and he's a goofy guy, but he's without a doubt a very intelligent guy, and I think that's a cool thing to get to draw out a little bit over the course of 2 hours. Like, yeah, this guy liked to party, but he's got his head screwed on right, you know, and he knows his shit.
100%.
Yeah, I also loved that it pissed off the other pros that he was getting more success with his web series than they were getting from winning contests.
Because it was who else was doing that?
It all comes back to the
Well, like,
character thing that we always talk about.
The idea was he was being paid to be different,
Yep.
to do his own thing, to create his own lane. So that goes into it. You know, it's like, well, why? And then like you're like, okay, that was only from New School's video platform. Once again, don't be worried to create something your own way, like if it's not the major platform. So yeah, his shit was dope, man. Lots of good stories and lots of good lessons to learn to do your own shit.
It was pretty sick. I was actually thinking about this the other day, just while we're thinking, because I was thinking about the different eras. Like you go back and you look at the skill level. Like he said, he said he would never triple. I think the reason that we're losing some of the personality these days is because there has to be, you know, you can only manage so much in your mind. I think the highest level athletes now have to give up a little bit of that personality, not willingly, but just the way their brain works in order to do these tricks now. You can't just be a normal social guy
Dude,
anymore.
you got to show up. The trainer's got to tell you when not to push it.
Exactly.
Nutrition has to tell you what you should be eating more to recover your fucking knee. Like the fucking therapist, fucking sports psychologist.
Yeah.
Tell you like how to get ready so you can peak at the right time. It's fucked up, man.
It's hard. It's harder than ever to have a strong personality just because, I mean, if you're a social guy, the chances that you're also a monster athlete, not monster the brand, but like if you're an insane athlete, the chances are low. There's not much overlap with people that are robotically talented and that also are really good with people and funny and can put on a show, you know? And I think that's gonna be a bigger and bigger issue. You got people doing quads. There's no way that they could have a normal conversation, it seems like.
But I think you look at someone like Unicorn, and you have a kid that is at that high level that engages sarcasm across multiple languages.
And we had Luca on too, and Luca was a pleasure to talk to. So I guess, I don't know, maybe these kids are just built different these days.
No, I think the 21 and younger, man, like this whole fucking generation there, and I think it's honestly going to be like these 15 or 16-year-olds right now that will start whatever, take control and say this is what's dope.
Yeah.
So whoever's 15 or 16 right now, if you listen to all this shit for 2 hours and 40 minutes, you guys are going to control the future.
No
Big
doubt.
up on yourselves.
Yeah. I actually had someone at Illumination the other day. I can't remember her name. She was Riley's friend. But this girl that's listened to Two Planker since the beginning, and she was like, I've listened to every episode. I feel like I know so much more about skiing now. Like, I feel like I have a better roadmap, better idea of what it takes. And she gave your point props. She was like, the whole thing about making a character is so true. And yeah, so if you're a young kid listening to this, take all this stuff to heart, because you got 20 years of experience, and we got, with all the episodes we're doing, we're sharing hundreds of years worth of experience just across all these different lifetimes of people that have been doing this. So there's something to be gained from all this. And Ian's just
be a character, be yourself, because if you're the character that you make up, you are yourself.
Yep.
Right? It's not an actual alter ego. It's just an extension of who you want to be. And then because, think about it, you record a trick. Let's say you do a cork 7 4 times. They all suck except one. You curate that one shot. That one shot is what you present to people. Why not curate your image as well?
Yeah.
Oh, like a girl will do it. Look at the mirror a couple times, change her makeup. Why not do it as a professional and say, okay, man, this is who I'm going to be. This is my name. This is my style. This is my outfit. This is what I represent. So,
yeah. No doubt.
because if you have those things, it's like everyone makes it clear. Like, I was me. I did what I wanted to do. And I just did it at next level. I didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Everyone who's been successful that's an old head has that story.
Yeah. And those are the types of people that we interview. Like I had people inquiring, why isn't so-and-so on the show? Why isn't so-and-so on the show? We're not just interviewing the best athletes. We're interviewing people that made their own lane and did their own thing. And it's cool. There's a lot of different ways to be dope. You don't even have to be the best. You just have to do your own thing.
Exactly. Because it's like it's either you can win or listen to every story that we'll tell.
Yep. Yeah.
And all the stories that we tell are winners.
And they're
so
all
that's pretty ill if you think every person we talk to is another way to win.
Yep. Yeah. All right. What was the DPH? We're at approaching 3 hours, I think. 2.5.
8, 9, 10. 10. So less than 3 hours. So we're looking at about 3.225.
Pretty good. And who do we have next week? We actually, so you're going to Quebec.
Yeah, new location for the first time of the show.
Yep.
This guy, Stoneyham, Quebec.
Who are you staying with when you're there? Are you staying with Phil?
Phil Belanger, s'il vous plaît.
Oh,
set me up with a condo in Stoneham.
Sick. And so we're interviewing Taylor Lundquist next week. Taylor Burke Lundquist, TBL. And she's dope. She's our first new head lady skier. And this is the thing about Taylor. There's a lot of really dope girls these days, but Taylor just threw her first women's only event, and it's dope. She's doing it her own way, and this is the exact.
Got pro model ski. She got a pro model boot.
Yeah, I mean, she's killing it in many different ways, but I think the reason that we're especially stoked to have her on is like her taking charge in the women's field and doing stuff for women and being an advocate for women. And I think being that sort of leader, I think she's like the best person we could kick off the new head women with. Like, she's just
she does the most for others as far as out there right now as a young crew goes. How old is she?
I would guess late 20s.
That's what I would guess as well.
Yeah, but we'll find out for sure. I'm stoked. So we'll do that, and we'll see everybody next week.
Where will you be next week?
Next week, I'm on the coast right now of Oregon. I'll either be on the coast of Oregon or Washington, one of those two states. And then we're going to bang out some episodes, and I'm running off to Alaska for a little bit, so we'll see how we can make everything work the rest of the summer. But I feel good about it.
Yeah, we have enough.
Yeah, and then I'll be in Montana for like all of July.
Just gets longer.
Yeah. So good stuff coming everybody's way. We'll see everybody next week. And that is it. Peace.
Peace.